what's up? This is E.J. Stewart.
What if I drop 40 days, 40 nights?
One, you can't do it.
All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you.
Every morning, every night, for 40 days.
Going to be a long 40 days this year.
My skill shot will hold for your city for 40 days, 40 nights.
Rest in peace to all my ops.
For 40 days. If I can do that, then everything will be okay.
You're the guy who can't finish a sandwich. You think you can go 40 days? This isn't normal!
Oh, you're wrong, brother. I'm gonna go the distance.
Let's go!
Let's go is right. What's up? This is E.J. Stewart. You are watching 40 Days, 40 Nights with your boy E.J. Stewart, where I do 2 live stream shows per day. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. This is a very special show because this is night 40. We have made it, people. We have made it to night 40. We've made the trip. We've done all the shows, multiple shows per day. Ups and downs, peaks and valleys, amazing moments, technical difficulties, me being sick a show. All things have happened, and yet here we are. We made it. Gotta put up the number 40, the Wilt Chamberlain number 40. I wish I could find my Wilt Chamberlain shirt. I couldn't find my Wilt Chamberlain shirt. I don't know where it is. I know this is a newer apartment that we're in, and there's still stuff hanging around, so who knows where that shirt is. But I have a Wilt Chamberlain shirt, so I can't wear the shirt, but we'll get the picture ready. Look at that. We made it to 40. That's my very choppy Photoshop skills. Quick, short story before we get to the show. I did reach out to my friend Andrew Kaplan, who, of course, did an awesome job on the album cover release of the announcement of 40 Days of 40 Nights, which is me in the kind of picture similar to the poster of the movie, and it's a really awesome shot he did, and he did a great job with it. I went to him again and said, hey, buddy, I don't know if I can do this on Photoshop. Like, could you make me a Wilt Chamberlain, me holding up the 40 number? And I said, he didn't get to me initially. I was like, oh, you know what? I might be able to do this myself. So I played around and I got you this. And this is not bad, I think. But Cap then saw my text. He was happy I was able to do it. And he was impressed. And the fact that I impressed Andrew Kaplan, who is a wizard when it comes to Photoshop, social media, and AI, he is the man. So the fact that I impressed him, I already felt really good. But he wasn't going to leave me completely empty-handed, because then he said, well, you had a long 40 days, so while that looks like a real nice picture of you, this is more probably how you feel. Look at that. And I'll be honest, man, like, you might have noticed this morning that beard's a little more trim. I had to trim up the beard. I let it rock, man. The one thing, shout out to my barber, Rod. He's been in the chat every now and then, and he's a great guy, and I've talked about Rod a ton. He's actually became kind of a character on the Maggie and Perloff show for various infamous things that I've said about my barber experiences. One being that when you're in the barber's chair, the barber's always right. So they can tell you, he could tell me the Knicks are the worst team in the NBA. I'd say, yep, brother, you're right. Keep that lineup ready. He also, one of the stories was that one of my favorite stories from Maggie and Perloff show. I don't know if anyone else's favorite story, but it's one of mine. Maybe it's personal to me. The idea that he thought when I told him I got hired by Maggie and Perloff and I was working on the show, and he wanted to see the show, and I showed him the YouTube, and he recognized Maggie Gray as Maggie Gray, of course, former WFAN host, and he then saw Andrew Perloff. He was like, oh, wow, I didn't know that guy does radio. And I was like, what do you mean? It's pretty much, Perloff's done a ton. I was like, that's the main thing he's done for the last few years. He's like, that's the actor, right? The actor. And I was like, what? I was like, well, he was in Hustle. He's like, yeah, that's the movie I saw him in. And I was like, oh my God, he thinks Andrew Perloff is an actor. That's what he thinks Andrew Perloff's main job is an actor.
Cleveland, because they're idiots.
I found that hilarious. I just thought that was one of just the funniest natural human things. So to tell Perloff that no, he has no idea about your radio career, but he does think that you're an actor apparently.
It's gonna be the dad bod gods.
I found that a trip. So, but what you'll notice is I didn't get a haircut during this entire time. I got a haircut prior, like a couple of days prior to starting, so I was fresh in the beginning. It's kind of funny to watch my YouTube videos and my social media videos to see how the beard gets more and more out of control. I mean, I'm rocking the dreads, so the dreads don't get really, they only get a little trim. They don't get cut off. But the sides, there's no, like, I had to brush down the sides today. I had to look a little sharp, and we'll get to a little bit later to why I had to do that, because I didn't want to look too crazy today. So that's why, not because I just wanted to look good for the final show. I just needed to do something outside of 40 Days and 40 Nights. But my beard was starting to look like that. This is the point of this entire story, this tangent. My beard was starting to look a little crazy, look a little out of control. And Cap, maybe he noticed. Maybe this is him telling me, hey, this is how you've looked when I've seen you on the stream, or maybe this is him just having fun. But shout out to Andrew Kaplan, man. Of course, big friendly already in the chat. Cap's on point with his skills. Yes, he is. He is the man. And like the fact that he's ready with the troll without even me asking. I asked him for a Wilt Chamberlain picture, and then I produced one. I said, actually, I think I'm able to do this myself. And he said, well, I'm gonna give you a troll anyway, because that's Andrew Kaplan. Big Friendly knows very well, because he is trolled Big Friendly. He has trolled all members of the show. He has trolled people that have called into the show. That is the great Andrew Kaplan, and actually, man, he deserves a round of applause. He deserves a round of applause, because he's actually the first person from like the Infinity Odyssey family to do anything to help this show. Because again, he created the image that I don't have on me, otherwise I'd show it. I don't feel like scrolling through my phone this early in the show. But he created the awesome album cover image for 40 Days and 40 Nights, my announcement that we were doing this thing. So he helped from the beginning, so it was fitting that he contributed something in the end. So much love to my good friend Andrew Kaplan. Love you, brother. You're the man. Hilarious for the old man, EJ. But we got a lot to do on this show. This is going to be a jam-packed, fun show. Are there topics here? Sure. But this is going to be a guest-heavy conversation and a guest-heavy show with some of the people that I admire the most and the people that are most important to me when it comes to doing content. So it is Kendall Fridays. So we got my guy Kendall Stewart coming in live at 6:30. Shout out to my guy Kendall. He will join me live. We got a lot to talk about. We had some news today. I also want to ask him about Jason Tatum's debut. He is a huge Celtics fan. Deserves some boos there. I think it's fair to say definitely deserves some boos. We don't love the Celtics, but it's the right day to have him. This is the day to have Kendall on, because he is a Celtic fan from when he was a young kid. He remembers watching Paul Pierce bring them back against the New Jersey Nets in the 2002 Eastern Conference Finals, and that miracle comeback in, what was that, Game 5 or whatever it was. Like, he has been with this team for a long time. So we haven't had to really talk Celtics this whole time. And of course, my luck is that I have to talk Celtics on a big day with Jason Tatum making his return with a Celtics fan. It's like that is the sports guys playing a cruel trick on me there. But we'll have fun with Kendall with that. I also want to get his thoughts on the potential Kyler Murray joining the Vikings, considering, of course, he worked with the Vikings and he grew up a Vikings fan, too. So there's a lot of Viking stuff there. Very Kendall aura show here. Like, a lot of stuff happening in the world and in the ether. He's the perfect person to talk about with. I'm sure we'll get to some college basketball. He also has some strong thoughts on something going on in the NBA that I really haven't talked about much. So I'm actually excited to get his thoughts on that. So we got him coming up at 6:30. That's about 15 minutes. We also have kind of the grand finale guests for this show. Now, they've been on this show now multiple times. Both of them in their first appearances went totally smoothly, and they were awesome appearances. The second one was when we tried to combine them with my good friends, Andrew Bogish.
The Yankees equally suck as much as the Mets, and I can't say a word.
And then, of course, my good friend Manny Rodriguez.
That's how you make America feel, Bill Belichick. Congratulations, you creep.
So I wanted to have those two gentlemen along with the great Maggie Gray and Andrew Perloff together on Monday. That worked terribly, and the audio issues, mic issues, connection issues, it was a mess. And I felt bad. I felt like I let a lot of the audience down, because a lot of people were really excited to see the five of us all together. And at least you got to see it. It was only for like a minute or two where the stream was okay, but otherwise you did get to see it. I wanted to give a payback. So today you will have Maggie Gray and Andrew Perloff live. That's going to be awesome. They'll be together. It's only going to be two guests, so that should be a lot easier to handle. We had it with Bart, and we did it with Carlos. That went fine. So I don't think this will be an issue at all. I think we'll be able to handle this one too. So I think that's going to be a fine thing to do, and I'm really excited about that. So we'll have them. That's going to be at 7:30. So we got a lot in this show, man. Again, 40 Days, 40 Nights, your boy EJ Stewart, streaming live multiple spots, including streaming live on YouTube, New Generation Media. this is the time, please, to make sure you subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. Shout out to my guy, Rob DeRay. Raise your hand if you are a 100% completist in the first 79 shows. Just me. It seems about right. I don't know if Rob's been in every chat, but he definitely, I get the impression he's watched every show. And Rob DeRay is a long time friend of mine. My beginnings with radio are much credit and much is owed to Rob, because I joined the Hunter College radio station, and Rob DeRay, who, if he ever wants to pick up a microphone and get ready and get back at this thing, he is as good as it comes too. He was doing a sports radio show back then. He is brilliant when it comes to football. He is brilliant when it comes to the NFL draft. And he's just a friend of mine. And the fact that he's been supporting me like this has been awesome. And he's been rocking with me this whole time. So a shout out to Rob, who's been in the chat. Shout out to Matthew Graves, who's been in the chat. He said there was an attempt, but you rock for trying. But I can only imagine the strain on all four guests. Oh, yes, he's talking about the attempt. Yeah, that was rough. the attempt to get Maggie and Perloff. Yeah, that was rough. But Matthew Graves, he hasn't done all, I don't know if he's done all 79 shows, but he's done a lot of shows too. Much credit and much love to Rob DeRay and Matthew Graves, Andy Lean, Bob Custer. So many guys that have been consistent in the chat. Like, you guys have rocked. You guys have helped build the show. You guys have helped made the show have some character, brought unique elements to it, made it fun. I love engagement. I love being able to have that wild card element to the show. So I appreciate you guys so much. We're live on YouTube. Now is the time. Please subscribe to New Generation Media. I know you may feel like 40 Days and 40 Nights is coming to an end, but there's more content coming. I think I'm going to announce something later. No, it's too early. I can't announce it. I'm sorry. I was about to say, let me jump out the window. But I was like, wait. There's actually a really funny NFL Films mic'd up where Mike Holmgren, this is like early on when he's coaching Brett Favre. This is maybe like year 2 or year 3. And you know Brett Favre, this is a guy who on the field was a wild card in terms of like just not running the offense, doing things. And think about Mike Holmgren, who's like from the West Coast offense, a particular way of how to play. And so Brett Favre's a gunslinger, just flying by the seat of his pants kind of quarterback play. Brilliant, obviously he's talent, but he drove Mike Holmgren crazy. And there was a mic up segment from NFL Films where it's early in Brett Favre's Packers career. Favre, there was an awful interception, makes an awful decision. And the mic'd up, I can't believe they have this. It's an awesome mic'd up where Mike Holmgren's like, yo, get the backup ready, get the backup. And he's like, wait. Like he's talking to, I guess, whoever his quarterback coach or he's like, wait, hold on. He says wait like 100 times. Wait. We'll turn this around. We'll get it back. Sorry. We're not going to go there. We're going to stay with Brett. Because I guess he realizes if you're going to have Brett Favre, you're going to have to live with the good and the bad and the ugly when it comes to him on the field. Unfortunately, off the field, too. But, like, in terms of on the field, like, you're going to have to live with some interceptions and bad decisions. He was so pissed. He's mic'd up. He's like, get the freaking backup, and I can't deal with this anymore. And then he thought, wait a minute, this guy is probably a future MVP. Maybe I should take a step back here and realize that I can probably still do my thing and win a championship potentially with this guy. Let me not pull the string here. So that's what I felt when I was like, let me make a big announcement. I was like, not ready yet. I got to make a couple more kind of conversations with people. So social media is where you're going to find me. But either way, subscribe to me on YouTube. New Generation Media is where you'll find me on YouTube. Again, be sure to subscribe there. Also streaming live on X, EJ_Stewart. Again, if you want to know what other content is going to be coming from myself, any updates on any live shows that I'm doing, any new projects that I work on, social media is where you're going to want to find me. So EJ_Stewart is my X account. Be sure to follow that X account. A New Generation Pod is the X account for the actual, New Generation Media. So make sure you follow that as well. But definitely follow me, EJ_Stewart on X, and follow me on Instagram where we're also streaming live. Much love to the Instagram audience. They have also held me down, and they've been phenomenal as well. Again, shout out to Big Friendly who's in the Instagram live today. I'm sure there'll be plenty more coming in as tonight continues. You guys are awesome. That's where we're streaming live. YouTube, New Generation Media, X EJ_Stewart, Instagram Action EJ, and please make sure, if you can, and I really appreciate you can, please subscribe to our podcast channel, New Generation Podcast Network. That is wherever you get your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn. that is where all of the episodes of 40 Days and 40 Nights, the audio versions, and all other episodes of our podcast live. So there's some content we have on here that isn't video, it's only audio. That's why it's super important also to have the podcast channel, because most of our Hero Talk episodes are on video, but not all of them. Some of them just only go to audio. Imperial Broadcast is only audio. Off Script right now is only audio. A lot of them are only audio. So there's a lot of content we do, and there's a lot of podcasts that we do. So, and there's more coming. I guarantee you there's more coming. There's something going to spin out of this. There's other projects that are on the way. So please be sure to subscribe to the channel, New Generation Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts. So we got Kendall coming up at 6:30, man. Again, thank you guys so much for rocking with me this entire time. Matthew in the chat. I'll confess I haven't caught every show, but I've subbed to New Generation Media and play catch up on via podcast. Love via EJ.EP. Oh man, Matthew, you're the man. Love you. Love you so much, man. Thank you for rocking with me this entire time. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's talk some sports, and let's get into some stuff before Kendall joins me here. And one of the big things that happened today, obviously, was the release of Geno Smith. So, end of an era in Las Vegas. The era was only 1 year, but it is already over. So, Geno Smith officially handed his pink slip. The Raiders now will be moving on, and they'll be, moving on into the Fernando Mendoza era. So, Fernando Mendoza is a prospective #1 pick. That's a pick that the Raiders have. By all accounts, the Raiders are not interested in trading that pick. So Geno Smith, who was a player that they traded for last offseason, gave a 3rd-round pick to get Geno Smith from the Seattle Seahawks, with the expectation and the hope that they will be a sneaky playoff contender coming out of the AFC West, potentially as a wildcard team. The AFC West was expected to be a very brutal division. A big reason for that was supposed to be because of an improved Las Vegas Raiders team with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith coming to town. And it could not have been further from the truth. Pete Carroll seemed like the game had passed him by, and Geno Smith became a turnover machine, which he already was kind of a little bit of a turnover-prone quarterback anyway, but particularly in Las Vegas, it just seemed like he just had the interception bug, and he couldn't stop turning the ball over. And the Raiders and their other offensive issues, they weren't able to get really Chanty going until much later in the season. And they just were stuck in the mud with Geno at quarterback. So there was no way he was going to be back. He now becomes a free agent. So it's always important, even with the Geno Smiths of the world, to talk about the quarterback position because, like the great Malik Wright says,
Everybody knows the quarterback.
so everybody knows Geno Smith. And I think the thing I was thinking about as I was coming into the show today is I was like, let's put all these reclamation projects in a pot. Let's put Kyler. Let's put Tua. I'm going to exclude Kirk Cousins because he's really old. Let's put him to the side. But let's do Kyler, Tua, Geno, and Anthony Richardson. Of those 4 guys, which one do you think is most likely to have the best season playing next season? Or rather, or that's one way to answer it. Or another way to answer is, who's the guy that's most likely to reach whatever thing they had that made you excited about them previously? So if it was Anthony Richardson, it was that he was a lottery, not lottery in the NFL, but you know what I mean, a top 4 pick. When it was, obviously Geno has been a Pro Bowler, Kyler's been a Pro Bowler, Tua has been, I think, a Pro Bowler as well. Which one of those guys? Because that's essentially what these teams are going to be figuring out. Geno's going to be a free agent. Kyler's going to be a free agent. It's a very expensive but realistic possibility that Tua Tagovailoa would also could be a free agent. And then Anthony Richardson, I think, while he is searching for a trade right now that may not exist, I think he also could potentially be a free agent. These are the decisions that these teams are going to make, and these are the guys that I think I find most intriguing based on just either their draft position and or what they have done in the past. If I was ranking these guys, I think Geno Smith would probably be the lowest. Because if I'm thinking about what Kyler's, and I'm not a big fan of a lot of these guys, and that sounds harsh because I think Anthony Richardson is the lowest, but Geno's probably somewhere sits between 3 and maybe he could fight Tua for 2, but I think he probably sits 3rd. I think you look at Kyler and you say, still in his prime of his career in terms of age, still athletic though he's been banged up, and he has physical tools that suggest that if he ever figures it out, he could be good. There's some maybe alternate timeline where he has learned that there's some alternate timeline where he's Michael Vick for the Philadelphia Eagles in that first year. Remember when Vick came out of prison, went to the Eagles. He initially was out of shape. He was the backup to Donovan McNabb, and McNabb gets traded within the division because they wanted to play Kevin Kolb, which I always thought, I think in the back of the Eagles' mind, at least Andy Reid's mind, was a secret way to get to Vic. That's my opinion, but my opinion only. They play Cobb. Cobb gets concussed, and it's kind of meh. Vic comes in, and he looks like a video game. And I mean a legit video game. The guy earlier in Atlanta was a video game, but that guy really couldn't throw. It was like, imagine you had Atlanta athleticism or close to it, but then you had a quarterback that was elite throwing the ball from the pocket. It was insane what he did in that year. If it wasn't for, I believe, Peyton Manning won the MVP. If it wasn't for Peyton Manning, whoever it was that had this phenomenal year, he would have won an MVP in every other year. He was sensational. There's probably a timeline where that Kyler Murray does that kind of thing, where Vic learned the things that were the shortcomings that he had in terms of being a pro, in terms of being a leader, in terms of preparation. That's what he talks about. And that he didn't do the right things. And when he got to Philadelphia, he learned how to prepare. He learned how to be a veteran. He learned how to be a leader. And the physical tools were still there. So when he got to actually play, he had the speed and everything, but then now, and the arm talent, but now the mind was there because he wasn't out partying. He wasn't out at the clubs. He wasn't doing all those different things. So he came in, and he was a dog, absolute dog, as we got my guy Kendall rocking me here in 40 Days and 40 Nights. Michael Vick came in, and all of a sudden he changed life. So it was an entirely different situation. I feel like when you look at where Kyler is, maybe there's a chance that that happens somewhere. I think it's low, but maybe he learns that same lesson, and thank goodness for him, he didn't have to go to prison to learn that lesson. So I put him 1. Tua, and its accuracy makes me still feel like in a right offense with good weapons, he will never win you anything serious, like a playoff game or anything like that. But could he be functional again? I think he can. I watched him play against bad teams, and there were some games he looked really good. So I put him 2. And then Geno, I put 3. The turnovers, I think, are just, it was bad enough in Seattle. It's one of the reasons why Seattle kind of was out on him. And then it got worse and worse and worse. And then I go to 4 with Anthony Richardson. So I don't know if there's a lot of upside with Geno Smith, but I do think that Geno probably, in terms of who's the guy that's going to be probably the best leader and the guy that's going to be less likely to cause negative headlines, he's probably the best guy. So he may be the safest option of those 4 guys. But I think in terms of the highest ceiling, I put him kind of in the mid-tier. Kendall Stewart joined me live here on 40 Days and 40 Nights. I drew you up immediately. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to just simply answer the call and then drop you right onto the show. So you're here now, so you might as well come right out of the shoot here with the Geno Smith conversation. And basically, I was trying to ask, and I don't know how much you got to watch, was I wanted to put him in a group of guys that I would call guys who are going to likely be free agents, who teams are going to have to decide like whether or not they could recreate some success they had in recent past or play to their draft status or both. I put him in a group with Anthony Richardson, Tua Tagovailoa, and Kyler Murray. In my head, he came in 3rd in terms of the guy that was most likely to somehow return to his prime years in Seattle. I had Anthony Richardson 4th, and then I had Kyler 1st and Tua 2nd. Does that sound about right to you?
Of those 4 guys, I tend to agree.
Okay.
I could. The Richardson one is the wild card, right? Because I don't know really what the best version of Andy Richardson really is, but I don't know if we've seen it yet. And so that's why I'm like, he's the guy that has the most room to actually grow into a real player. So I may put him 3, but again, it depends on what you're looking for, right? If you're looking for a guy that's going to come in right away and immediately play winning football, and if that's the ranking, I would say, I would have him 4, and I'd have those other 3 guys in that order that you had it.
That's interesting to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
All I said was that was interesting to think about it, because the reason why I said that was because I didn't think about what if he went somewhere and didn't play. I didn't really consider that. I consider all these guys were playing next year. But yeah, if you're committed to the development of Anthony Richardson, then yeah, I would agree. I think I would probably boost him ahead of Geno if that was the case. Sorry, go ahead. What you were saying?
Yeah, no. I mean, the one, because there's this conversation of, especially after Darnold winning a Super Bowl, has made this conversation of who's going to be the next Darnold. We've seen other reclamation projects. Baker Mayfield, obviously, guys, we've thrown that name out. I think a lot about, shout out to Rob DeRay, hanging out with us as usual. But I think about we've had a lot of obviously really good stopgap reclamation projects over the years, but a guy that I think has been talked about a little bit that I'd have probably second behind Kyler is Derek Carr, if Derek Carr wants to get back into the league, which it sounds like he does. It sounds like he also wants to be very picky about his situation.
Yeah.
But I think in the right situation, I think Derek Carr could still play playoff football. He's also a guy that hasn't had great situations really ever in his career, but particularly towards the tail end of it. His best shot were those Raiders teams, Ruggs maybe, before Ruggs got his situation, and that thing kind of really fell apart. And the Gruden scandal and all that kind of, tumbled that thing out, altogether. But I think him in the right situation, I think you can win games.
Yeah, Carr, it's funny. My good friend Andrew Perloff, who will be here later today, I'm excited about that.
Bam! You and dunks in your face.
He calls Derek Carr the Bermuda Triangle. Him and Maggie call him the Bermuda Triangle of QBs because is he good? Do we actually know if he's good? We don't. He's been playing forever, but I don't think anyone actually knows. I lean towards no. I lean that he's a guy that probably can put up numbers, but not actually win you anything of significance. But you make a good point that the first time he actually was, like his second year, he was in a great situation. They won 12 games, and he broke his leg. There was a outside shot that he was going to be playing in a Super Bowl that year. I mean, it wasn't like likely because they were Tom Brady was still playing and stuff. But like in theory, like the Raiders were one of the best teams in the NFL that 1 year. And he never captured that 1 year again. And, the Rich Bisaccia year was kind of chaotic, but they did at least rally a little bit. But he's never been on a team that's felt consistent or felt put together, even though they have come into years with excitement. Like, they came in with Davante Adams. They thought, okay, here we go. The Raiders are back. And did they fail because he just wasn't that good or because it's the Raiders? And then he goes to New Orleans. And again, it's okay, well, this is a winning kind of culture, winning kind of team. And they have a great defense. And all they needed was a quarterback. They were playing, Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. Like, Derek Carr's a huge upgrade. And they give him Chris Olave. And they win nothing. It's the same. It's like, so, but then again, it's like, well, then they say, well, the team wasn't that good. It's like, well, we thought they were going to be good with him. So he is a guy that you talk about him being picky. I've been kind of like teasing that I wanted to talk about him, but I didn't. But I found his like comments on that podcast he did with his brother ridiculous. I'll shout out to the Carr brothers. As someone who does a podcast with their brothers, I got a lot of love for the fact that they do a podcast together. That's really cool. But he was like, oh, I'll play, but under certain conditions. Is it a championship team? Do I like the team? Do I like the coach? I'm like, where are the MVPs from Derek Carr's trophy case for him to suggest that he should be allowed to pick a Super Bowl contender? I'm like, who does he think he is?
Yeah, I think like the misconception that you're pointing to is I feel like there's a thought, and at least there was a thought, and I feel like there may still be a thought, maybe even in his mind, that he's kind of like a poor man's Matthew Stafford, or like he's like, I could, whatever Stafford did for the Rams, like I could do for a team, and I don't think that that's realistic.
That feels like a very generous assessment of his game.
Yeah,
very generous, very generous,
1,000%.
Is it like is that the most insane thing I've ever heard? No.
Is it a squint? Yeah, can you squint and see a little bit of similarity?
But man, you got to have some silver and black and gold and black colored glasses, and that saw something different than other fans of the Saints and Raiders saw to maybe see what
red, white, and navy blue.
Yeah, maybe red, white, navy blue for Fresno State, maybe. Yeah.
No, I am in a situation where I look at Derek Carr rather as again, and I think part of his comments may have also been assessing the landscape and looking at the guys. And granted, we've gone down the list of guys. There's a decent amount of options for what is going to be maybe 5 or 6 quarterback opening, in terms of guy teams that are going to have like, starting jobs open available. So I don't know if, and again, how many of those teams are going to be contenders? Like, I don't know if Derek Carr is going to fit into any of those teams' plans. And then like you could talk about the Vikings, obviously. We'll talk about the Vikings, obviously, in a minute. But they're maybe they're the team that a lot of people look at and say they're a team looking for a quarterback that if they landed the right guy could still be viewed as contenders, right? But they have to want Derek Carr.
Yeah.
I think Derek Carr would be considered an upgrade over the quarterback play they got last year. But again, there's a lot of options out there. You mentioned the 4 guys you mentioned. There's Mac Jones, there's Jimmy Garoppolo, of course. Malik Willis is a guy people have talked about. These teams don't, like you said, they don't have to go out and get Derek Carr. So he's a guy that I think amongst those guys that you mentioned, I would probably place him second. Like I think Tua at his best is probably better, but like you said, so many things have to be good around Tua for him to be successful. Plus, you bake in the injury risk, and it would just worry me if I was a contender, right? If I'm operating as if I'm a contending team, I would say Carr would be the second guy out of this QB group.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think if he'd probably be second. It's Sam Darnold has just changed the entire landscape of this whole conversation, because there was a time where these free agent quarterbacks were seen like, you would be a dope to think that these guys are going to win you a Super Bowl. Like
it's like the buyout market in the NBA.
In the NBA, yeah, like, everybody thinks, oh, the buyout guy's going to change our season. The buyout guy never changed your season. And then I fell for the same trap. I'm like, Jeremy Sohan, he's going to be a big pickup for the Knicks. He can't beat out 20-year-old Mo Diarra, who's a rookie.
People swore Cam Thomas was going to, change life for the Bucks.
The spin doctor is about to retire because he's coached Cam Thomas for a couple of games. You saw that Doc Rivers said that he's apparently the reporting is that he's telling people that this is his last year. Everybody's like, this guy coached Cam Thomas for 3 games. It was like, I can't do it anymore.
And this guy who's Rollins.
He's with Kevin Porter. He's coached Marcus Morris. He's coached some guys. He's coached some guys, and I guess, yes, that does wear on you. I guess also he coached Ben Simmons. Yeah, he coached Ben Simmons with the cell phone in his pocket. Ben Simmons, and he's had Cam Thomas on his team for 3 games. He was like, I can't do it. this is it for me. I'm retiring. Oh man, Doc Rivers, the spin doctor. This is a funny comment. I didn't know what this referred to until I had to Google. Matthew Graves being like, he tried to burglarize Macaulay Culkin's home. Does he have any ground to say I want to play on a championship caliber team only? And I said, what does Derek Carr have to do with Macaulay Culkin? Until hopefully this works, my screen share. Until I saw this image, I didn't realize there's an image where he looks like Bro from what's it called? What's the movie? Home Alone. Yeah, he looks like the guy from Home Alone. I guess there was a point with the Raiders where he didn't like cut his hair. So when he doesn't cut his hair, he has this kind of flowy, kind of crazy deal, and that's what he looks like. So what a pull there. Is he's and apparently a lot of people have talked about this. I didn't know this was a story. So awesome pull at Matthew Graves in the chat. If you got beef with Macaulay Culkin, then you shouldn't be saying I need to play for the Lions next year. I think that's a fair point there.
Do you think Derek Carr got do you think, you mentioned the Sam Darnold influence, do you think there's also a Phillip Rivers side of it where he's like, I just saw Phillip Rivers play 3-4 games, look pretty decent for considering the circumstances. They had him in games where they could win.
He should have took the job. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they called him, but if they called him, he should have took the job. Like I don't know if they did. I said this during the season. He should have took the Bengals job. I don't know why he turned that down. Like, he's like, oh, I don't want to go there because, again, I don't know who this guy thinks he is. Like, well, I don't want to go to a team where I'm not the guy moving forward. I'm like, I'm like, bro, like, you go to play with the Bengals and you're playing with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I know Higgins ended up having concussion issues, but he did still play a considerable amount. You light it up for 8 games. Like, think about the game Flacco had against the Steelers, where he looked like, he didn't even look like the old Joe Flacco. He looked like a different person, a different quarterback I'd never seen before, where he's throwing the ball all over the yard. Playing with those receivers, anybody could put up massive numbers. You go over there, light it up, save the Bengals season. Maybe you're so good that they tell Joe Burrow, hey, man, you're good. I know you want to come back, but we don't want to risk your injury. We got something hot going with Carr. That's a possibility. But, okay, let's say that doesn't happen. Okay, you go back to the bench, and you come to the open market. Any team that needs a quarterback that's actually good will look at you. Like, there's not going to be do you want to take the risk? Do you want to make a trade? Like, I thought that he was out of his mind to not consider the Bengals job. But when the rumor was that, well, he didn't want to go because he didn't want to give the job back to Joe Burrow. I'm like, again, for the third time, who does this guy think he is? We're talking about Joe Burrow. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I think that, it's a really interesting look into the psyche of the quarterback position. And we talk about it a lot. People that have been around a lot of these guys will say and know that, they have arguably more, just as much, if not more, of a diva gene as the receiver, the receiver position that we talk about all the time. And you have to, right? These quarterbacks are, they play, they're the only guy, and there's only 3 guys on a roster typically that do what they do. If you're the starting quarterback, you're the only guy, you're blamed for everything. And there's a lot that you have to wear. And I think we're seeing a musical chairs game, but again, with all these quarterback jobs, that so many of these guys are so used to being the face of the franchise and being the face of the program when they were in college. Like, I think about a guy like Justin Fields, like every place he's been, he obviously was in Chicago and he was the face of the franchise. He bets on himself to go to Pittsburgh and he's battling it out with Russ and he gets to play early on. And then he has that experience where he gets benched, after not losing a game. And I don't think he took that very well because his next move was, let me go to the Jets where I could be the face of the franchise again.
Yeah, the Steelers wanted him back and they wanted him on the cheap, but they wanted him back. And he said, kick rocks.
Yeah, it's like, no, you guys screwed me over. And I don't think that was the right move. I don't think that was a smart move. I don't think that was the right move for his career. And now he's going to be in a situation where he's got to be a backup, right? None of these teams are going to give him a starting spot. And I think that all of these guys that we've talked about, and that'll be an interesting thing for these teams to realize, is that some of these guys are starters and some of these guys are guys that are backups or willing to be backups, right? Like Kyler Murray's a starter, right? Tua's a starter, generally speaking. And I think Derek Carr is a guy that views himself, I'm a starter, right? I don't come off the bench. I'm not a bridge guy for a couple of games until a guy gets healthy. And, I just think that's tough, right? Because there's only been so many jobs available. And Carr is content with not playing, I guess, ever again, and that's fine. But again, some of these guys are young, right? Again, I talk about a guy like Fields. Anthony Richardson's a guy that I think has already proven you don't have to start, right? He's already gone through that situation of I'm a bench guy. And so now he can go to a place where he can compete or develop. So all of these teams are weighing their situation and, saying, can we bring in a guy that we can develop or do we need this guy to be a starter?
Yeah, no question. And the one thing I thought too on Richardson, I said this a couple weeks ago, and maybe I was crazy, maybe I am crazy. I don't feel any different. Am I crazy to think he should just stay with the Colts? Like, I don't think there's a starting job for him anywhere. And similarly to what I was thinking about with Derek Carr being opportunistic, I think you got to be opportunistic and see the forest through the trees. Yes, you lost your job to Daniel Jones, and that sucks. And I'm sure, like, living in the city and being in the city where you were supposed to be, like, the next coming and, like, you flopped, it's probably not easy. Like, I get all of that. Being in the building when you were, like, the guy and now you're the back, like, I get all of that. But I still see Jonathan Taylor there. I still see Shane Steichen, a great play caller, or at least a very good play caller, I think. I see a good offensive line. I see good weapons. Hopefully they can keep Alec Pierce.
A weaker division.
And I see a weaker division, and I see a extremely brittle quarterback. I'm not wishing any injury against Daniel Jones, but the guy is coming off an Achilles injury. He previously has an ACL tear. He previously had neck surgery. He's had back issues. I would be like, and then also he's Daniel Jones, where we've seen him play well for a certain stretch, and then, he blows up, whether it's physically or just his play. If I was him, I would say, all right, cool, I'm going to take this backup money. I'm getting paid like I'm a starter as a first round pick. I'll just take this money. I'll wait for bro. I'm not wishing him to get hurt, but this is the NFL, and you're one play away. And if it wasn't for the fact that he was playing with his exercise band, it wouldn't have been Phil Rivers. It would have been him. So I've pushed that. Right. I think Anthony Richardson has been foolish to want to even be traded. I think he should stay in Indianapolis.
Do you think that they like Riley Leonard better? I guess would be the question. Right. And if you're Richardson, I feel like those were the signs down the stretch where like they were kind of like they were talking about their situation. Like, look, we got Phillip and then we got Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard, they only brought in. I mean, I don't say only, but one of the big reasons they brought in was because he was Phillip Rivers' guy, and Phillip Rivers was Steichen's guy, and so there was this, connection.
Yeah.
And Richardson, you got to be in the quarterback room. Like, I'm the odd man out here with all these other guys. So
it's a good question.
It's like you're not only competing against Daniel Jones, but you're also competing in the immediate, in terms of the offseason reps are going to be going between him and Riley Leonard.
That's fair. I mean, I think Riley Leonard can't play, but that almost doesn't matter. Like, if they like him more, they like him more. I think Anthony Richardson is better than Riley Leonard. I watched Riley Leonard play.
That becomes a question for the
little time he played last year. Yeah, I think he's not an NFL starting quarterback or an NFL quarterback.
Let me throw something at you real quick.
Sure.
I had a theory. And I heard somebody else throw this out there too. I forgot who. But I think Kyler Murray should go to the Rams. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I think Kyler should go to the Rams. And again, it goes back to my conversation of what guys have the psyche to be backups, which guys have the psyche to be starters. Kyler probably thinks he's a starter. I think Kyler's a starter from a talent perspective for sure. But I also think Kyler could use a year as a backup. And I think going to LA in that environment, very quarterback friendly, offensive driven environment.
His guys there.
Cliff is there.
Yeah, his guys there.
Cliff's there. He's not in a coordinator role, so he's kind of just a guy who's floating around. The assistant head coach is kind of a fake title in many ways. I mean, it depends on the situation, but.
Shout out to you, Kendall, because I told shout out to our good friend, the great Big Friendly in the chat, and who's a big fan of the Maggie and Perloff show, because he asked me about Cliff Kingsbury, and I said, I'm sorry, I think this is more about like Cliff Kingsbury's shine on his resume than it is about the Rams. And he's like, oh no, I think Cliff Kingsbury can really help. I was like, I'm not saying he can't help, but Sean McVay is calling the plays, and they have their system. Cliff is there to learn a little bit, and then just go next year into the coaching cycle and be, hey, man, I was hanging out with Sean McVay. Give me a job. And knowing the NFL, somebody's going to give him a job.
Yeah. Cliff is like, this is the experience that he's basically like, the third time around. Remember, he went to USC and then immediately got the Cardinals job.
Yeah, he never got to coach at USC. Yeah, then he went back. Yeah.
Yeah. He did the analyst thing where he, again, kind of floating around, the quarterback coach for Caleb Williams. Like, you're not – Lincoln Riley's the quarterback coach. Cliff Kingsbury's just floating around. But he gets to do that again, and he lives in LA, and obviously we saw what his house looked like in Arizona. I'm sure LA would probably look very similar.
Yeah, if he's got good savings, I'm sure he can buy a nice house in LA too.
Yeah, but no, I think that I think Kyler would be an excellent, developmental guy. Again, the problem is he's at a point in his career where he probably wants to start winning games and proving why he's the number one pick. But I would tell him, I think the big question with that scenario is Stafford on a 1 year basis, or is this a guy that may do multiple years? I kind of feel like this is going to be his last year. But if you don't know that, it's hard if you're Kyler Murray to sign on to being a guy who doesn't play for a whole year.
Yeah, what you're basically asking him to do is to do what Dante Moore did and what Dalen Raiola did, or is doing, which is to go to a team that has a quarterback and say, well, like, you could probably start almost anywhere else, but if you come here, like, this is going to be all yours. Think about all the guys you'll have. Like, you'll have...
and you'll be in the best situation in the league.
The best situation possible for you to succeed. Just wait a year. And those guys, we saw what happened with Dante Moore. That couldn't have been a better decision for him. He would have been the number 2 pick in the draft had he decided to actually come in and come in the draft.
Imagine if he says like, yeah, well, I'm from Michigan. Like, maybe I'll just go to Michigan State. Like, they're telling me I can start right away. And it's like, now, like, there's just no way Dante Moore's a good quarterback. There's no way he has the success that he had at Oregon, at Michigan State, or one of these mid-level places that would have gave him a starting spot 2 years ago.
Yeah, no question, no question. Kendall Stewart joining me live here on 40 Days and 40 Nights. One of the things I want to talk about as well was the sweepstakes going on with Max Crosby. So it's one thing I wanted to mention before you came on the show. So Diana Racine reporting that there are teams that are interested and they're paying attention to the situation in Las Vegas with Max Crosby. Two of those teams being the Dallas Cowboys and the Baltimore Ravens. And there's increasing optimism from opposing general managers that Max Crosby will indeed be traded. This feels like it's the biggest open secret thing out there that we're waiting to see happen, but it still feels like it's a little slow moving, that we're still at the monitoring phase. But it does make sense to me that these two teams would be in the mix. These are teams that I mentioned when I went down the list of the teams that would be curious. I don't know if I mentioned Ravens. I definitely mentioned the Cowboys. I don't know how interested the Raiders are in trading within the conference, but if they are, the Ravens badly need a defensive pass rusher in a major way. They've lost a lot of star power on that defense over the years, even though they've drafted high and they've acquired defensive talent. Getting that top-notch edge guy is the one thing they're certainly missing. The places I've kind of pinpointed for Max Crosby, and I'm actually curious because some of the money that's been moved around in one of these spots is the Bears and the Commanders. Those are the teams I thought, if you're talking about Crosby going from AFC to NFC, Bears just got rid of DJ Moore, so they just cleared up a bunch of room. They just cut Tremaine Edmonds, so that's the more money that they got coming in. And then, for you look at what their major issue was, the biggest weakness on the team was the fact that they could not get to the passer at all, despite having a really good secondary. Max Crosby playing in Chicago, playing in that,
paying Montez Sweat all that.
Paying Montez Sweat too, right? Who Montez Sweat? I don't think he's lived up to the hype. He had a really good that stretch when he first got there. He was really good, and he's been kind of ever since. So I look at the opportunity potentially with Crosby, and I think he'd be a perfect fit there. But then the Commanders is the other spot too, because they got a lot of money to spend. They could certainly absorb his contract and maybe give him some more money. And I think they could maybe sell the idea that I know we were bad last year, but we have Debo here, and now Jaden Daniels will be healthy. This would be a good spot for you. Do those spots or Baltimore or Dallas make sense to you? Where do you think on the Max Crosby sweepstakes?
I mean, I like all those spots. Look, the Cowboys the Cowboys is the one that's going to get the most attention, obviously, for multiple reasons. But
no question.
I want to say, is he from the DFW area? I want to say
that's a good question. I think he might be. That's a great question. I didn't even know that.
I don't know if I'm mixing.
He gives me DFW
I don't know if I'm mixing him
vibes.
up with. I don't know if I'm mixing him up with Post Malone. I know Post Malone's from there. I want to say Max Crosby is as well.
I think
he went to Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, I think he's friends with Post Malone. He went to Eastern Michigan. I'm looking up right now where he's from. He went to Colleyville Heritage High School. I don't know where that is. In Texas. Yeah, Colleyville, Texas. Yeah.
That's where Bobby went. Bobby went to high school.
There you go.
So, yeah, that's right up there in that Arlington, North Texas area. But yeah, he's, so again, he's a local hometown guy. Would obviously replace the star power and pass rushing prowess that they lost with Micah Parsons. And, obviously, Cliff King, EJ, you're hating on Cliff Kingsbury.
Big friendly. I'm not hating on Cliff Kingsbury. I'm saying that it's good for his career. They get to hang out with with McVay for a year. I will take him on the Jets, but nobody's coming to the Jets. I have no beef with Cliff Kingsbury or the Rams. Big friendly knows that.
Yeah, no, I mean, Max Crosby's a guy that, for the Cowboys, again, would replace the pass rushing prowess and star power on the defense that they were lacking last season. It was their biggest problem, right? Their defense, they just couldn't get stops. Yep. Eberflus, he was kind of put in a tough spot because, the defense is awful, but he also traded the best player, maybe the best defense player in the league. And you just kind of asked him to patchwork, and of course they then brought in Quinnen Williams, and so that kind of, reshuffled the deck a little bit. But, you add Max Crosby now to the mix, and now all of a sudden, your defense is in a much, I think, better situation than maybe you were even 2 years ago. So I'm most excited about the Cowboy proposition. But of course, again, Dan Quinn could do a lot with a guy like Max Crosby. And the Ravens one's a unique one. I hadn't really heard that. But the fact that they're trying to get in the mix there is interesting as well. And I wouldn't sleep on even like a team like the Eagles. You know,
I mentioned them. Yeah, I mentioned them as well. And you know that organization well as well. If you're the Ravens, edge or wide receiver, what is the more pressing need? If you had to make a silver bullet trade, because I think they're gonna be aggressive for Crosby or maybe AJ Brown. If you had to do one, if you're a Ravens fan or you're the Baltimore Ravens, what do you do?
I would lean receiver.
Okay.
And I would and I know they've made attempts in the draft before at trying to find edge rushers.
Yeah.
They drafted the kid from Marshall last year. They didn't do much. Was it Green? If I'm forgetting his name. But
yeah.
They've tried. Obviously the OA. They had as well. They've tried over the years to try and bring in pass rushers through the draft. It hasn't really hit the way that they've wanted. Like you said, that's been a bit of a weakness for them. So I still feel like you can get a guy in the draft, especially where they'll be picking. I feel like, think about a guy like Kendall Falk from Auburn, who's a pass rusher that might be available in that range. Like the receivers in this draft, if you're not taking one of those guys at the top, which I don't know if those guys will be available where they're picking. Well, now all of a sudden, I don't think you're getting like an impact year one guy, and I could be wrong about that. There's always guys that surprise, but I feel like if you're the kind of impact that they're hoping for, which is they haven't had a legit number one receiver like during the Lamar Jackson era. I feel like those guys aren't going to be available in the draft, right? So that's what I would look to. That's what I would look towards.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because for me, like I kind of think that this is a pretty deep receiver draft. Like I like Denzel Boston. I really like Omar Cooper from Indiana. Like I think that there are good receivers in the second round that. I guess the problem with the Ravens have a weird problem at both spots, where they've kind of been drafting these like late first round, early second round like kind of guys.
These good but not great guys.
These like good but not great guys. Like these guys aren't like scrubs. Some of them are pretty good. Like the receivers they have are pretty good. Zay Flowers is pretty good.
Flowers is awesome.
Like they have good players, but it's just.
Bateman ended up being a decent player.
Yeah, Bateman ended up being decent. But they're not stars. Like, for a team that's trying to win a championship, it's like they need to get lucky. And you see other teams get lucky with these late round pick guys. Like the Chiefs could draft a George Karlaftis, and the guy's a star. And it's like if the Ravens really drafted George Karlaftis, like this wouldn't be a big issue. But they haven't found their version of that guy, Smith and Jigba, right?
Jefferson.
Right, like those guys, they haven't hit like that. They've gotten good players. Like I don't know what the Instagram account is, but it's one of my favorite accounts so far. They did a thing where they were doing like a grade for every draft pick a team had, their first round pick for the last, I think like 7 or 8 years. And they just gave a grade for each one based on like what the player did and who they are now. And it's funny to see like, the bad teams, it's like B-, C, B-, D, F, and then you see the good teams like it's A, B+, A, B-, B+, A. Like I feel like the Ravens would have like B- like across the board. It's not like too many like D's or F's, but just like they have a bunch of these guys.
Yeah. Besides, like Kyle Hamilton, obviously.
Right, he'd be the A+, and I think he was an A+. I remember them being there. But they were a lot of like B's and B-. But it's like, it'd be nice for them to get an A+ at like the premium spot where they've drafted, which you mentioned. Again, it's like pass rusher and wide receiver, and they haven't hit there. I'll be honest, I kind of lean edge. Because I think their defense is why they fell completely off to me last year. Like their offense was not the same, and Lamar Jackson and the lack of athleticism that he showed in the second half of the season was highly alarming, because it's one of the things where like we kind of talked about it a couple weeks ago. Is he one of these guys that's just like, if he's hurt, he's kind of useless? Like, you know, like he's not really going to play through injury. And if he tries to play, he is not even close. Like, there are some guys who, like, despite whatever they're dealing with, they could be Superman and do heroic things. And it's not, I don't mean this as a diss to him. That's not how I feel about him. I love Lamar Jackson. But there's some guys that are just like that. We mentioned this a couple weeks ago. And, like, he kind of strikes me as one of those guys where it's like he has some kind of nick or knack thing. Or even something severe, but that guys in the NFL typically have to play through. He's going to be very compromised. So for that reason, I kind of get why, man, just give him a big target and give him a big weapon that could help him maybe during through those instances. But I still feel like the Ravens not being a defensive team anymore and losing that identity has been the biggest reason why they've fallen short. The Bills moved the ball over them in the snow a couple years ago and took Lamar essentially having to, you know, pull a miracle late in the game that he almost succeeded if Andrews catches the freaking ball. And then last year, again, Aaron Rodgers just moving the ball up and down the field and them after the first quarter. Like, their defense has been awful. And we can blame Zach Orr all we want, but I think there's a personnel issue too. So I actually do lean a little bit that they need to consider seriously an edge there. I want to talk to you about Kyler Murray because I don't know if you saw Connor Hughes' story earlier today, which was more about the Jets. This idea that the Jets are going to be looking at getting multiple quarterbacks this free agency, not just one. Similar to the Giants last year, where the Giants got Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. And I'm like, ooh, the excitement. Following the New York Giant plan, the quarterback plan from last year. That went really well. Yeah. But anyway, the small part of this, he did kind of like a small thing. He wrote in there, they talked about Kyler Murray, but he is expected to sign with the Vikings. I was like, whoa, that's a big thing there. I didn't see somebody jump out the window that much to say that he's expected to sign with the Vikings. Does this mean the end of 9 in your idea, in your eyes, in terms of like why, if this does happen, like is he done? Or do you think this is gap year where maybe he learns and maybe Kyler's just only there for a year and then they give him the job back?
In that scenario, yeah, McCarthy is done.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether McCarthy's done, period, like whether he's done already,
right?
I think that remains to be seen. I mean, the fact that once you even start going down the path of should we bring in a Kyler Murray, you're starting to trend in that direction. But of course, these things have to get done, right? So, you know, if he doesn't, if they don't get Kyler Murray, if he decides to go someplace else, I know Albert Breer brought up the Colts possibly as a Kyler Murray destination as well. And so, you know, if Kyler doesn't like the package that's being offered to him in Minnesota, well, now again you have to kind of regroup and decide, do we want to go forward with McCarthy? But I think
now I would assume,
Murray,
by the way, just real quick on the package. I mean, I would assume he's gonna want to sign with the minimum so he can get his guaranteed $35 million. Now, unless somebody does something that would be surprising to me, but comes out and says, "Hey, we'll give you not just a long-term deal," like, and maybe that's what the Colts, in theory, maybe that's where they're coming in, saying we would go beyond just a 1-year rental. Because to me, if it becomes an even playing field where it's all teams offering the minimum, and he's a great value for a minimum. I don't even love Kyler Murray, but for the minimum, I mean, come on, that's crazy.
Yeah. Like Russell Wilson when he went.
Yeah, and I think it'd be much better. Russell Wilson was ancient.
Yeah,
when he went
I think it's better value.
This guy's 28 years old. Like, you know, so 28 years old. I know he's got leadership issues, all other issues, but he's 28 years old. Like, and these guys are Pro Bowler just a couple of years ago. I do look at that, and that would be interesting, but that would be the case that would be unique. And I've wondered if that was possible, because I've seen Adam Schefter, when the reporting came out, they kind of made it a foregone conclusion that he's going to sign with the minimum. If you're one of these teams, you feel like you're going to lose out to the Vikings, do you get aggressive and say, you know what, like, what are we doing? Let's make Kyler Murray the starting quarterback. Let's give him 2 years, $80 million, or 3 years and 100 or something like that, and see if he'll come and forego the guaranteed $35 million this year to be our quarterback long term. That do you think it's possible someone does that?
I think it's unlikely because, again, I think, like you said, I think that's part of the value and part of the excitement around the Kyler Murray acquisition is that it's going to come at an unusually cheap number. And, you know, so much of today's day and age of team building, roster building, and roster construction in the NFL is about how can we build a great team around a cheap quarterback. If we don't have a superstar guy, how can we build it around a cheap quarterback? Usually a guy on a rookie deal. Well, Kyler's a veteran guy who's, like you said, shown himself to be a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL. With those guys don't come at a cheap price, but given the circumstance, that's where we're at. And so, I tend to think that's what he's ultimately gonna end up signing for. And again, it could be Minnesota. The Minnesota fit is interesting because it's funny that I want to say, like, I don't view him necessarily as a great scheme fit for what they've done historically. But then I also talked about, like, how he'd be great with the Rams. So I'm like, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about because they run the same system anyways. But I also think back to the fact that this was a coaching staff that really liked Bryce Young when he was coming out. Yeah, Bryce Young. Yeah. I remember, and so that is a guy that also was not your stereotypical, like, if you're thinking of Kevin O'Connell wanting a big, tall, drop back, play action
pocket passer,
pocket passer, which Darnold fit the T perfect, and obviously played excellent in that system. And McCarthy, was a guy that could be maybe a more dynamic version of that. But, again, I think back to the amount of interest they had in Bryce Young, and I say, well, Kyler is not like the stereotypical guy that they would look for. He's not a guy that's going to be super effective playing inside the pocket, but gives them an athletic, dimension that they haven't had as much at the quarterback position over the years. And, I mean, I think at a certain point when you're an offensive coach that has the weapons that they've had, particularly Justin Jefferson, you kind of have to just step back and say, we just need a guy who can get him the ball, right? Forget, can they see over offensive line? Forget, are they good under center? Justin Jefferson's open half the time, but we just don't have a guy that can hit him or can see him. It doesn't matter, right? And so I think that's where Kyler Murray comes into play, because I don't know anything for a fact. I'm just speculating, but I'm not sure if they'll even view him as like the perfect, locker room guy. I don't think that's a secret.
He's not that guy. Yeah,
a lot of people don't view him in that light, and so I don't know if that's why they're bringing him in. But again, they need a guy who can throw the football, and none of these guys in this free agent class can spin it like Kyler Murray when he's on and he's healthy.
No question. Kendall Stewart here, joining me live for 40 Days and 40 Nights for Kendall Fridays here. Also, wanted to talk to you about something before we get to some more football and NBA stuff. I want to ask you briefly. The Lanterns trailer came out this week. That wasn't it, man. I told the audience when I watched it a couple days ago, I said, I'm not going to hold you guys. This wasn't it. I'm not going to give up hope that the show is awful, but I can't remember the last time I was like this underwhelmed by a superhero project that I like. At least that I'm interested in. Like, I was definitely underwhelmed by, like, Madam Web. I don't even remember the trailer, but I can almost certainly tell you I was Craven. Craven trailer I actually think was okay, if I remember correctly. But, I mean, I was extremely underwhelmed by this. Are you now concerned about HBO's Lanterns, this DC project that they're coming out with? A lot of people seem to be not digging the vibes of, the true detective style of a Green Lantern story that they're going to tell. They didn't hide that they were going to do this, but seeing it in the execution in this trailer didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I think that last point you mentioned is the funniest part about all of this, is that this is what they've told us is what they were going to do for years at this point. And, we get it, and it's just, I think, like you said, mostly a universal, panning of this trailer. I think one of the big dichotomies that we're seeing is the comic book people, the people that are fans of the lore, the Green Lantern, mythos, are the ones most frustrated by what they saw because it didn't really feel like Green Lantern. In many ways, it felt like a trailer for what you'd say the normies or the casuals, whatever you want to call them. Problem is, like, I kind of wonder, like, is this even a good trailer for them? Like, if you are a normie or a casual who's just like, I just want to watch an HBO show, like, what is it about? It just looks like a generic, old guy, buddy cop, old guy, young guy, buddy cop, with
old town.
Yeah,
stay out, cops, stay out of our business type. Yeah. Feels very tropey.
And then all of a sudden Hal Jordan starts flying, right? And so if you're not like what it is, like what just happened? Like what is?
He's not even wearing his suit, or the ring doesn't glow, or nothing. He just starts flying.
And then at the end, he says, "I'm the Green Lantern." And you're like, really? This guy's the Green Lantern. So I don't know. Again, it wasn't a great trailer, right? I think we all agree that even if you are excited about the show, and I still think the show has a chance to be really good, it wasn't a great trailer. Obviously, there's a lot of similarities to Watchmen, and I've had to kind of think to myself, like, why did I? No, of course, Damon Lindelof was working on this. I kind of asked myself, like, why did I like Watchmen so much, and why was I so excited for Watchmen when it came out? But like this is just not working, even though it looks a lot like Watchmen. And I think, again, I just don't think this is what people want Green Lantern to be, right? I've heard a lot of people saying, and I agree, if this was like a Martian Manhunter show, I think people would be like, this looks awesome. Like, this could be really interesting.
Totally agree.
Again, like the trailer is muted, and that's fine, right? I don't need you to show me all the craziness and wackiness. But at least like with his Martian Manhunter, you're like, okay, this is the vibe that I'm looking for with a Martian Manhunter show. And I think that's where the Watchmen thing worked, was the source material could fit into that style of show. With Green Lantern, it's like, man, this would be more accepted if we've had other versions of Green Lantern shows and movies and live action that have been awesome. But we haven't. And so ultimately you're like, I kind of just want a good Green Lantern where he's in space and he's fighting aliens. And, I think back to I don't know if you remember I want to say it was the Arrowverse, one of the Arrowverse crossovers where they were going to Crisis on Infinite Earths, and one of those where they were showing the different universes, and they showed what was supposed to be the original HBO Green Lantern show that was coming out before James Gunn brought it and, came in. And, this thing's been in development for like a decade. It's some version of this. And it was just a big shot of Oa and a giant ring, and it was like they were in space. And I was like, this looks awesome. Like, I don't know if the show's ever coming out. Like, if this is what the show is, like, this could be really good. This looks nothing like that. Like, go think back to, what was it, Alex Brown on the Bears post game. I want that. I want that show. I don't want what they just showed me. So yeah, I don't know.
I was like, why can't I have that? I want that. No, I agree, man. Yeah, and it's funny. There's a part of me, and I've said this before on our Hero Talk podcast. And by the way, again, if you're liking this conversation, this part of it with Kendall today, make sure you check out New Generation Hero Talk. We do that show about weekly on the podcast channel. Search New Generation Podcast Network wherever you get your podcasts. I wonder if this show exists in this way if Supergirl wasn't doing Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow's story. I think they felt like we're doing this space adventure with Supergirl. So can we do another space movie? Like, is there a way we can introduce the Green Lanterns in a more unique way, a different way, but still get the Lanterns established in the universe? And again, like, the weird thing about this is I still think it might be good because Lindelof's working on this, and it does give you some Watchmen vibes. And the reason why, because I asked myself the same question, all right, Watchmen was nothing like the comic book, really, in terms of vibes, some certain vibes, and the movies, definitely. Why did I like that? Why did that work so well? And I was like, I think it was just a extremely well-told drama and mystery, and that part of it was enough to where I didn't need to have Dr. Manhattan, blowing people up or doing anything like that. I didn't need that, really. Just the pieces of figuring out this conspiracy was all where that encompassed everything in the story, in the show. Can they get away with that with something like the Green Lantern? We're about to find out. But Watchmen, it felt like people received those trailers and that promo much better than this was received. I think it's because when you're talking about Watchmen is not really about like superheroes. Like superheroes exist and superpower people exist, but it's really about us. It's really about society. It's more, they use superheroes as a vessel to tell stories about a lot of different things, about corruption, about violence, about sexual violence, about all different kinds of things. That's not Green Lantern. Green Lantern is, you're fighting Parallax or you're fighting, the Sinestro Corps. It's like that's the green, like it's kind of, I'm not saying it's simple, but it's much more straightforward, like capes kind of thing. So it's a different vibe.
Your analogy about your comparison of Supergirl, I think is right on the money, right? I was thinking the same thing, and it's kind of like it feels backwards, right? I think most people traditionally would assume that the Supergirl show would be the terrestrial, like Earthbound, show, and this Green Lantern show would be the one in space. And to me, it almost feels like a baseball team saying, like, well, look, Supergirl's, I know Green Lantern's a third baseman, but like we got Supergirl playing third base, right? And so even though Green Lantern, I like, and Green Lantern is the moneymaker, right? Like Green Lantern is our highest paid player, and we're gonna play him out of position, when Supergirl can play first base. I don't know if Green Lantern can really play. Like he kind of can.
Yeah, but you could do this story with Supergirl. Easy
1,000%.
money. Easy money. Right.
It would look like Star Wars, right? Which is what this show
exactly.
What the show kind of looks like. But and honestly, it sounds a lot like what the Boston Red Sox did to Rafi Devers, but that's a whole nother conversation. But no, I mean, to me, I just feel like they had, like you said, even if they had a great story for Supergirl, like I'm like, man, but we haven't had a great Green Lantern, and I think
we've had a good Supergirl already.
We've had a good Supergirl, and this is totally up for debate. I would make the case, and I could be very wrong. You may disagree. I think you have more financial upside with Green Lantern than you do with Supergirl. Now, again, that could be wrong. I feel like if Supergirl hits...
That's a New Generation Hero Talk topic, if I heard one.
If Supergirl hits, like, you could have a really big deal, but it's one of those where I don't know if it's ever getting to that point. Whereas, like, Green Lantern is a more realistic, like, this is an obvious double.
Here's what I'll say. If this was, let's say 10 years ago, let's say it's 2016, I would say you're right. I think in 2026, the patience, and not Green Lantern, he's like an A-, like DC character. Like he's not A-list, but like A-. Supergirl, I would argue, is actually maybe even a B. But as long as you got the hope signal on your chest, I think that elevates you in terms of moviegoers to a different like appeal that then maybe boosts you for casuals for a movie to an A. So that in this climate where people are less likely to give an A- a shot or a B a shot, like they want to know who the hell these people are. Like, I think they'll be like, well, okay, Supergirl, I know Superman. I don't know what this is, but okay, I'll give it a shot. I think Green Lantern is like, oh, Green Lantern, I'm not doing another. Yeah. We don't need another Green Lantern movie. We don't need this.
Yeah, another case.
It's not Batman. It's not Superman. It's not Wonder Woman. I'm not seeing this. So that's how I lean. But I think there's a good argument both ways. I'll be real. I think there's both argument good ways. Real quickly, I know Jason Tatum debuts tonight. There's been some conversation and some criticism from, Carmelo Anthony and to Carmelo Anthony for his comments saying that Tatum may have to get ready to adjust to a smaller role because of how well Jaylen Brown has played. Do you think that there's a chance that there could be some growing pains with Jason Tatum having to potentially take a step back? And what do you think are the chances are for the Celtics with him? Do you feel like you guys now really have a shot at the title?
Man, this is one of the more anticipated returns. We're probably in basketball history, but certainly in the last 10, 15 years. I mean, I think back to obviously Durant.
Yeah, mid-season, definitely.
Yeah, and again, Durant wasn't a mid-season one, but you had Paul George came back at the end of his year, coming back from the leg injury. And
yeah, but the Pacers were terrible though.
Yeah, they were terrible, and that's what makes this a really unique situation. So this is a guy coming in the middle of a playoff, run potentially. Was going to be a playoff run, and he's coming in to a team that now, some sports books have as the favorite to win the East. Now, is that Vegas kind of just they trying to pull a fast one on some people? I don't know, right?
Or
you never know.
Knowing the money's coming in on the Celtics, everybody knows Tatum's coming back and trying to just cover their bases for sure.
Right, and so, but at the end of the day, it's an extremely unique situation. Tatum has said time in and time out that he only wants to come back when he feels like he could be Jason Tatum. He said, "I don't want to come back to be a role player." Yeah, so you hear those quotes, and of course, it excites you for what he's actually going to look like. Is he being realistic? I don't know. Part of me wants to say, don't undersell what you were. Don't forget who you were, Jason Tatum. Like that's a 30-point a game score. Like, I mean, I think he knows he's not going to do that, but him coming back and being a 14, 15-point guy would help this team. I mean, they got rid of Anthony Simons knowing that, like, we'll have Tatum coming back. So, like, that offensive boost that we're losing, we don't really need. We need, Brad Stevens said the trading for Vucevic was about positional balance. Like, we needed more bigs. We don't need as many guards with ball in their hands. And so they're expecting Tatum to have a role, but whether or not the Celtics are the favorites in the East, is a lot of that's going to come down to what version of Tatum this is. And I am skeptical that he's going to come back year one and be what he was. And trying to decipher, is he 40% of Tatum, 60%? I don't know, right? At that point, it's like you're splitting hairs. I don't really know. But, like, if he comes back, like, I don't think this will be Durant. I'll be, and I hope it is. Like, where Durant came back and you're like, this is basically Kevin Durant. Like,
the same guy, yeah.
He's not as explosive, maybe, but he's basically as productive as he always was.
Yep.
I don't know if this will be that. I'm for it. Like, I've also seen, like, as a Celtics fan, like, Gordon Hayward come back off his leg injury the next year. And, again, he was out there. He was playing. He was productive. But he wasn't what we thought we were getting from Utah, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not totally going there and saying, like, he's going to be a shell of himself. And I also think that whatever growing pains he has, I think it's probably only for the season, is my guess, right? I think whatever he does this season is kind of gravy. The problem is he's jumping into a playoff run, right?
Yep.
The ideal scenario would have been what you mentioned, where he's in a Paul George, Indiana Pacers situation, where I think most people thought we'd be out of it, and he'd have a chance to, have his one or two games at the end of the year, got the crowd cheering back, and, but we're in the mix for the lottery. I can't say unfortunately, but fortunately for the Celtics, and, and I guess fortunately for him, like, they're in a situation where they have a chance to win a championship. But now he's got to come back and, the murderer's row of the schedule that they've got these next three games after Dallas, where I believe it's San Antonio, Cleveland, and OKC in some order on the road, I believe. Like, we'll find out really quickly what version of Jason Tatum is out there.
No question, man. Last thing before I get you out of here, you got a beef with the NBA and what we're seeing with injuries being investigated partly because of tanking. Ja Morant has now some kind of elbow thing that it seems like they're going to look at. Other guys, Lowry marketing. I think a lot of people are actually like, yeah, drop the hammer on these guys. You are the opposite.
Yeah, I think this is Bush League. I understand why the NBA is doing it. It kind of goes back to the conversation we had a couple weeks ago about, like, when the league starts trying to dictate who could play on a certain team's roster. And like that, when you're doing it with, like, I think Lowry Marketing shouldn't be benched because he's your best player. Yeah. I think we all agree that's true, and that's fun in games. But when you start doing it with guys that are injured, and you're saying actually you should be playing when in games that don't mean anything. They absolutely don't mean anything. And the NBA, again, they should be embarrassed that the situation's gotten to this point that they feel like they've got to do this. Like, what kind of third-rate situation is this where they feel like we've got to, what did Rick Carlisle say that they were like, you don't got any medication that you give? Yeah.
They actually they medicated Neesmith or something like that. Yeah. And he said they didn't talk to their doctor. Like, they didn't talk to anybody. They were like, nah, we see your injury. We just think that you should have done more. So therefore, here's this fine. Yeah, it is wild.
And again, I say this. We just came off the Tatum conversation. This is a league that just had 3 guys, 3 superstar, probably future Hall of Famers, tear their Achilles in a span of like 2 weeks in the playoffs last year. And we were having this conversation, injuries are at all-time high, what's going on? Yeah, and now the league wants to crack down and say, Larry Markkinen, you're not that hurt. Like, you can play. I know your team's out of it. I know you just obviously got hurt. You're not that hurt, right? Like, you can go out there and tough it out. When we were talking about, I didn't like the injury stuff when it came to the guys sitting out load management and national TV games. I didn't even like that, right? Because I was like, even that, I'm like, that's again, a slippery slope when you're talking about injuries. This is the extreme, because again, these teams are out of it. Like, there's just no reason.
There's nothing for them to play for legitimately. Yeah.
There's nothing this doesn't help the TV product. Again, this is only because Adam Silver wants to stay out of jail, right? Like, he doesn't want. He saw what happened to Chauncey Billups and was like, I'm not going on Capitol Hill having to testify about whether or not teams are tanking, and so he's got to do anything he can to crack down. But this is ridiculous, right? This is not the way to fix any of this stuff.
Kendall, man, you've been a staple for Kendall Fridays. I think 8 weeks. I think since the beginning, 8 weeks. Every Friday, you've come in, you've rocked the mic, you've dropped takes, you've dropped knowledge, and you've elevated this show for the 40 days and 40 nights run. Kendall, I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you so much, man, and I'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you, EJ. Appreciate it.
That's Kendall Stewart coming in doing his thing. Oh, that was awesome. Shout out to Kendall Stewart. I closed my soundboard because I want to make sure this all goes well, because I got some special guests coming up. I want to make sure I'm as clear as possible to make sure this goes smoothly. But I'll give just a personal round of applause to Kendall Stewart for what he did for carrying 40 days and 40 nights on Friday nights the way he did. Because it was long, hard weeks, and here came Kendall every week doing his thing. We had Rob DeRay in the chat ranking all the guests. He has Kendall as his number 1 choice. A little biased because he's done shows with Kendall. But he had Kendall number 1, Maggie 2, Ray Jarvis 3, Dex 4, Sham 5, Tommy Beer 6, Gelb 7, Antoine 8, Lucas 9, Brandon 10, and 500th is Manny because Manny's Wi-Fi was bad. He missed some people. Perloff was here, and there was Bogus was here, so he might. Rob says he was there all 79 episodes. You missed 2 apparently, but Manny being in 500 spot because he didn't have his Wi-Fi situation straightened out, and Shep was here too. Shep was also a part of this list. But Kendall did his thing, man. He was awesome, and again, he's my brother, so of course I love him. But also I love the fact that he's good at this, and for someone who can work in the NFL, who can do media, he has shown that there is not a talent that he doesn't have. So much love to my brother, much love to Kendall. He did his thing. All right, time is here, and we have to officially get the mulligan completed. We tried earlier in the week, and it was great to see their faces, but you could not really hear them, and they were dropping out repeatedly, so they didn't work out quite as well. And thank you to my fiance who gave me the courage. Like, you know what? Ask them again to come on, and maybe this time it'll go right. And maybe just do half the group, not the whole group. And maybe this will work out. And I think this one's going to work out. So, got a lot of love and a lot of appreciation for my next guest coming up here. And I think a lot of you are very familiar with him. Can you hear me and see me? Are we all good?
What's up, guys?
There you go.
I can hear Pearl.
I can hear you. Yeah, I froze for a second. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, now I can.
We're here. We got everybody. All right. 40 days, 40 nights. Pearl, Maggie. Pearl, I feel like your mic, I don't know if your mic is on. I think you're on like a weird mic. Maybe you have to change the mic setting. That's the only thing. Because I can barely hear you too, but I do hear you and see you. And we already got a...
You're going through a computer mic. Man, EJ, you did it. This is it, right? 40 days, 40 nights. You did the whole thing. It's amazing.
I did the whole thing. In fact, this is going to cover your face just briefly, but we already had the logo up. Well, it's covering Pearl. This is the Andrew Kaplan special. Of
course it is.
Of that, but no, this is it. I made it. I made it. I did 40 days and 40 nights every weekday, doing a show twice a day. And we're wrapping up with you guys coming in on the show. This is a big deal. A lot to talk about. First of all, we didn't get to really ask you how you guys were doing last time because it was all screwed up. But I'm asking you how you guys are doing right now. What's new?
Wait, let me check. Sorry to be unprofessional. EJ, how's my audio now? Because I can switch mics.
Oh yeah, it still sounds like you're on your laptop. Yeah.
Got it. Give me a minute. Go ahead, Maggie.
Yeah, sure. Maggie, what about you?
I'd happily take over. I'm doing really well. Besides the fact that I don't get to see you guys, EJ, everyone from the show every day, whether it's the crack of dawn or whether we're doing production meetings at night. You guys were in my lives a lot, and then to kind of have that go away sort of suddenly was definitely an adjustment for sure. And obviously, I still wish that I could work with you guys every single day, but stay tuned. And it's been actually very interesting to watch now sports from afar when you're not in it every single second. Like, you've been doing 40 days and 40 nights, EJ. Like, you don't have a break. You're talking about every single story. You're on top of the news, like, as it's breaking. And that was my life for a long, long time. Maybe not 2 days like you, because you're crazy. But, doing the every single moment of the day of sports, and then you get removed from it a little bit, and you realize, like, a lot of the stuff that we were talking about, we were probably the first time that people had heard of any of it. Yeah. And I think you kind of get in your bubble a little bit, especially in sports media, like everybody knows these big stories or even smaller stories are happening. And like, I don't think a lot of it gets through, unless you're really on social media, like all day, like we used to be, or you are, like scouring for news. It's been very eye-opening to see what gets through and what doesn't, or like, delayed. Yeah. So it's kind of been cool to see and maybe informative about like what actually are the big stories and what are the things that matter versus a lot of just the noise. Yeah. Big Friendly, dude. Big Friendly. Can I just say something? We cleaned out our office. I think we have like 50 t-shirts that you sent us that we had in the office, and we still have them. What's up, Pearl? You're back.
Yeah, how's this sound?
Oh, you sound so much better now. Oh, we're all good to go now.
I thought that other mic would work. What's up, Big Friendly?
Big Friendly was really excited. So it was funny. He didn't realize that either he didn't realize or he didn't show up to any of these live streams until this week. And it was after you guys showed up. And he's like, wait, this has been going on? Like, what's been happening? I'm like, well, the day before, Maggie and Perloff were here. And he's like, wait, I missed this? I'm like, where have you been? This has been a 2-month odyssey, and we've been waiting for you to chat. A lot of the Weedos and coffee drinkers from Maggie and Perloff show have been in the chat saying, Big Friendly would like this. Where is Big Friendly? Then he showed up this week. He's been talking smack about the Rams. He's very excited about Trent McDuffie. So he's given us plenty of that. He talked about Cliff Kingsbury being on the staff now. I think that Cliff Kingsbury is pretty much just getting his resume shined up by Sean McVay so he can go out and get a job next year. But Big Friendly's very excited, but he missed not seeing you guys. So now he's been very happy that he got to show up. And now you guys are here. So, Pearl, I know you want to say something Big Friendly since now you're here with the mic and everything.
Yeah. What's up, Big Friendly? It's good to sort of see you. Of course, it's good to see you, EJ and Maggie. I'm a little taken aback. Your brother had maybe the softest take I've ever heard in my life that NBA players shouldn't play. Get out of here. You're okay with the tanking is so out of control. You youngsters who are just like, back in my day, EJ, everybody played. You played basketball because you got paid millions of dollars to do it. Did you hear that, Maggie? Did you hear Kendall be like, "Oh, like John Morant's got a boo-boo. He should sit out 36 games." What are we talking about here? I know Big Friendly is old school like me. He's with me.
Well, John Morant sits out games for lots of reasons. Sometimes
very true.
Boo-boos, sometimes, he's at Shotgun Willie's a little bit too late into the night, but, who needs to bring up old business? I don't think it's the players. I think that it's the top down. It's the handlers when they're in AAU in college, like what's going on with the kid from Kansas, right? Like, I think it's people around him who are telling him not to play. And then when you get to the NBA, I think it's the owners and the general managers and those guys who are saying, no. Daryl Morey says, this spreadsheet says that if you don't play, every Thursday when there's a full moon, then you're going to be good for the playoffs. And I think that Kawhi Leonard has showed us, like, it works when you're still young, but as you get older, I don't think it works because he still keeps getting hurt, even if he plays, okay in the postseason. I don't know. It's a big problem.
I just feel like, and Kendall's not here to defend himself, but I do understand the concept of it's different if you're talking about one of these teams that's actually winning. But what difference does it make if Lauri Markkanen actually is banged up? Do we need him to play? Like do we need to investigate the injury? And if he is actually nicked up, is it worth throwing him out there in meaningless games when you're in a situation with the Jazz where actually having him play next year is going to be important because they want to win? I guess that was Sarah, or maybe one of the other side behind Perloff.
Yeah. I'll just walk behind you. Hi, come back. Tell us what you think about Lauri Markkanen.
I know, but I think that was more of the concept. These bad teams were investigating those injuries. It's like, for what? Like, who cares if Markkanen is really hurt? Don't throw him out there. Like, he shouldn't be playing in meaningless games.
So earlier this afternoon, I was visiting with Donald Trump at the college football meeting.
You got invited to that?
Yeah, I
was. Nick Saban and Clay Travis.
I sat between Colin Morikawa and Brett Yormark. I can't. But I tried to steer the conversation to NBA tanking because nothing's going to happen in college sports. That was a nothing burger. But Adam Silver does seem pretty serious. One idea I had, and it's not really even an idea, why don't you just get rid of the lottery altogether? Because then only one or two teams will try and get the top pick. I've seen some versions of that. But definitely, like, there's just too many teams tanking right now. So whatever Adam Silver wants to try, I will support it personally.
Can I give you guys my wild theory? I've thrown it on social media already, but my wild idea is to put everybody in the lottery. I think that you would then eliminate
the
tanking.
opposite of what I just said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the opposite. But if you want to keep because my thing is, I think it would give everybody essentially a 3% chance. And my thing is, if you want to tilt it maybe 5% to the non-playoff teams, to 2% to the playoff teams, then I can do that too. But just throw everybody in. Most of these teams, like if the Sixers got the #1 pick, it's a great story. They're not that good. And now a good team in a good market now gets a potentially game-changing player. If the Orlando Magic got the #1 pick, cool, that's good. Like, there's only 3 or 4 teams every year where it's like, oh man, this is like brutal. Like, okay, if the Thunder got the #1 pick, but it's a lottery. Like, the odds of it happening would be very, very low. It'd be 3% if you split it up evenly. I think you can take that shot, and then that would completely eliminate tanking. And actually what it would do is these teams that feel like the only way to be good is tank and being in the middle doesn't help you, now being in the middle will be great because now you want to have a good team ready for whatever #1 pick comes in. So I think that actually solves all the issues. And I've been pushing this theory to just put every team in the lottery, and a lot of this stuff goes away.
Oh, how cute this all sounds. Like you guys think that somehow this is actually by chance and it's a true lottery.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
I love that you don't think that the NBA has anything to do with manipulating who goes #1 overall, because I think me and my buddy LeBron James both agree that it's very fishy who gets the #1 pick. But obviously, some years it's cool and some years it doesn't matter. Can we just back up just for 1 second? So yeah. You had all these luminaries at the White House today because there's definitely nothing else going on in the world. We definitely need college football to get solved today because there's nothing else happening out there. So they have this laundry list of people, right, who are all there. Perloff sitting in between, who is it? Tommy Tuberville and Condoleezza Rice. I don't know which table you were at. Why was Adam Silver there? Why was Adam Silver there?
There are a bunch of the golfer. I don't. Did DeChambeau actually go? Because he was getting a lot of who are like Bryson DeChambeau is going.
Well, that's just because Trump loves playing golf. Like that. I think they just were saying like, oh, maybe we'll get around.
And it was like not that long a meeting I saw, right? Wasn't it like an hour? It was like what
50
could 50 people?
So nobody
what
could
could 50? Yeah, what could 50 people get accomplished in an hour?
You know who I was really fascinated with the people who really didn't have a title. It's like Jerry Cardinal. I know that name from somewhere, like businessman or something. I'm like, oh, that guy. That guy is moving some funds. I don't know what he does. Like, there are some big names on there. But you know who's on there? And I know Tim Pernetti was on there, who you know, right, Maggie? Yeah.
So, yeah, and he's actually up now to be, I think he's a finalist, if I'm not mistaken, for the NFLPA head. I believe, right? I don't want to lie to people, but I think he might be a finalist for that. But anyway,
really?
So
Okay.
yeah, so college sports is fixed, so that's cool.
Yeah.
I guess we can
Now
all go
lottery
back
next.
to our.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna have a lottery to see who gets to play in the Rose Bowl. It's gonna be dope.
I'm really excited to have. I'm really excited that both of you guys here because I feel like important things are happening with both of your teams, and people have been talking in the chat already, very much anticipating and wanting to know what Maggie thinks about DJ Moore going to the Buffalo Bills. I want to know what Perloff thinks too, but to give Maggie the first crack at this, I text you that now you got your number one receiver, and you were like, "Do we? Do we?" What do you think about DJ Moore?
So I'm glad that Big Friendly asked this question because he's the Rams fan, and I feel like the Bills are doing bleep them picks the wrong way. You don't give up a second round pick for DJ Moore. To me, that is a drastic overpay, along with the $16 million or whatever they're picking up on the salary. What you do is what the Rams did, is you're giving up picks for Trent McDuffie, guys who actually are major game changers in these big games and are all pros. I'm not pleased with this at all. DJ Moore, no disrespect, but he does not move the needle to me in a way that they are anticipating. And what really bothers me about it is this is obviously like DJ Moore and Joe Brady, the new head coach of the Buffalo Bills, go back to Carolina days, right? And with Brandon Beane,
Yep.
they all were there together. So, like, it's a little too chummy for me. Like, why do you need more of your guys? You've been in the building. This is not like a new head coach comes in the NFL, comes onto a team. They need some of their guys to spread their message, maybe be a little bit of a spy in the locker room, find out how they're doing. Like, you need your own guys. Joe Brady's been in the building. Josh Allen's your guy. You don't need DJ Moore to be your guy. Felt a little too close to home. And just bottom line is he's not the difference for this offense, in my opinion. So I thought it was a pretty bad move.
When I heard, sorry, go ahead, Paul.
Sorry, I said Maggie started off with no disrespect. It sounded like you just had a string of disrespect, which is always
no disrespect, you bum. No, I'm just kidding.
He's good though. I'm actually surprised. I think EJ. I'm curious where you are. Like DJ Moore can play though. I mean, yes, he's not going to be Steph Diggs when Steph Diggs first got there, but he's like a B version of that.
Wait,
Yeah,
hold on,
kinda-
Pearl.
yeah,
you,
go ahead, but Maggie.
Sorry, EJ, one sec. You love Ben Johnson, right? You were right about
love
this.
him.
I was right. You were right and I was wrong. I was like, you want to put Ben Johnson in Canton before he even coached a game. I'm like, this guy could be a bust. And you're like, no, he's awesome. He's the future. You know what? You were right. He does look really good. He is a really good coach. And if he's saying, I'm okay getting rid of this dude because I got Roma Dunze and Luther Burden, that should be a signal to the Bills. Like, this great offensive mind is saying, we have a young quarterback who's still developing. Caleb Williams is not a finished product, and you're showing him the door. I don't like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. But they definitely they're going to have to pay a Dunze at some point, so they have to start aligning their funds, and they can run. They want to run. They're more of a run offense, and that weather too. Actually, that's kind of what you guys are too.
Yeah, that's where he's going. He's going.
Yeah, you
to
kind of got me with that Ben Johnson.
Chicago East. Yeah, I think that's.
He's way. What is he? 29. He's way better than Diggs was last year with New England or whatever team Diggs was on last year.
I wanted AJ. Give me your trash. I'll take your trash and make it my treasure, Pearl.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean AJ Brown. Apparently, like there's heat around AJ Brown. Would you rather have him?
Well,
Yes.
AJ.
100%. And by the way, AJ Brown's going to probably go to the Patriots, and now he's going to be in the on my division for forever now.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw, and I wanted to get to Perloff on A.J. Brown. The Patriots already offered, apparently, a first and a third, and Howie Roseman said, kick rocks.
Yeah.
What does he think that this guy is worth?
I don't know. And also the Rams, too, are in on him as well, right? That's a pretty good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea what games Howie's playing, but they're brilliant. Maybe it's too low a pick. I think, because it's a first-round pick that really is kind of like a second-round pick. So
Right.
I think that's what Howie is talking about. Maybe he's going to get another deal where it's a potentially higher pick. That's
and I'm wondering if you're the Patriots, like you probably feel good about trading this year's first. But if I'm Howie, I probably want next year's first because the Patriots will have that first place schedule. I don't know if the division is probably still going to stink, but first place schedule, maybe Bills are revitalized. The Patriots win 14 games again. Maybe they win 10, maybe they win 11, but you get a better draft pick if you go to next year with the tougher schedule. The
better draft
Patriots,
next year, too.
Yeah, and a better draft, right, too. So I wonder if that was the sticking point. Like, everybody's running to the first and third, and I wonder if it was actually just, is it this year's first or next year's third? Because I'm like, you want two firsts, a first and a second? Like, A.J. Brown is a complete malcontent. Like, anybody taking him knows that you're taking a flyer, but Maggie's all in. She's like, we'll take him.
Oh, Maggie, we would talk so many Mondays when A.J. Brown was like reading a book on the sideline, and you just shook your head at this guy 1,000 times. I mean, he is the definition of a distracting wide receiver. Not like in a criminal way, just like a locker room distraction.
I'll tell you what, a lot fewer people hear you scream when you're in Buffalo than Philadelphia. It's just, it doesn't hit the same way. I mean, it just, I don't think, but here's my one thing, and this is how it brings EJ's favorite team into it. I think Howie Roseman is looking at the Jets with all these picks, just burning a hole in their pocket, and is just like, I'm just going to wait because he loves doing business with you guys.
That's true. That is true. There have been a lot of trades.
Joe Douglas is gone, though. I don't know if he's got his guy anymore.
Listen, he'll find someone in that building to take his phone call. And it's like the Jets are like a guy like on payday, just like, get me to Vegas, with those picks.
But the Jets are an interesting case because they for now, it sounds like they're playing the playbook that me and Pearl, actually, we were on the phone yesterday because I was trying to confirm when he wanted to come on. We're talking about yesterday, which is like they seem kind of content to maybe kind of tank again. Like the quarterback names you're hearing are Carson Wentz. That was from Connor Hughes today. I had Antoine Staley earlier in the week. He said Andy Dalton. I'm like, there's no better person to have to talk about the Jets quarterback situation than Perloff with the love for Carson Wentz and him knowing Andy Dalton. I always wonder with Woody Johnson, is some big trade of an A.J. Brown or signing Kyler Murray, is that possible? It feels like at least the public messaging behind sources is don't get excited for big moves. But I think the Howie Roseman thing, a sucker is born every day, and the Jets feel like they're born every day. and it feels like that definitely could be a potential spot for them as well.
Why'd they tag Breece Hall then? I don't really get that. But
I think it's because if they'd rather trade him than let him walk, even if they can't come to an agreement, I think.
Yeah, but they still get a third-round comp pick, I think. But, yeah, I mean, the Jets don't need a receiver, though. They have plenty. They have Garrett Wilson. They're fine. So they're not going to go in for the receiver. Yeah, they got to tank, right? Because look at those options. Carson Wentz, my guy Andy Dalton, even Kyler Murray feels a bit of like a tank, especially because Murray won't have the line. Yeah, I just think that they got to get their generational quarterback. Well, let me throw out a name to you guys. What do you think of Ty Simpson there for the Jets? They're pick 16. I don't think that's the answer because I'd rather get a quarterback next year's draft. So I'm tanking.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't know how you feel, Maggie. I'm not crazy about Ty Simpson at 16. If he falls to the second round, that's maybe a different conversation. But again, I had Antoine Staley. He's mentioning again, similar talking about the excitement for the Jets in the quarterback position. He goes Drew Aller and Garrett Nussmeier as the names that he's hearing with the Jets. So the Jets seem like they are all in on next year's quarterback draft, which, by the way, I think is the smart move.
Yeah, you guys just got me thinking about something. Yes, I think the Jets will probably punt on the season again. Listen, what's the rush, right? Unless you think Garrett Wilson is all of a sudden going to become a headache, but I don't think so because you paid him. But I was thinking about something the other day when it comes to quarterbacks because, like, obviously this draft class is, like, not great for QBs, right? We're talking up Ty Simpson, who is fine, and I know it really impressed people at the Combine, but this is a Fernando Mendoza, looks like, is kind of just the one of one. And it comes to me, it brings me, rather, to another mea culpa, that I gotta give it up to Pearl, and I think to EJ also on this one. Tom Brady sucks at running a football team.
Oh, yeah.
He's terrible. And
Yeah.
Fernando Mendoza is going to go to the Raiders, and it's going to be curtains for this guy. Like, I think that he's a special dude, but there's not, literally Tom Brady couldn't overcome what Tom Brady is doing in Las Vegas. And I know Mark Davis is there, and it's always been a disaster, and they haven't been really relevant, like really in a long time. But oh my gosh, Brady, he's messing up the Max Crosby thing. They already screwed that up. And like by not trading him last year, maybe someone comes in with the 2 first-round picks or whatever. But I mean, dang, Tom. Like,
what? Yeah. Maggie,
get it
actually,
together, man. I was really defending you. Like, you were going to be good at this team building thing, and he's terrible.
Well, you actually gave up on Tom toward the end of the last calendar year. You had already sort of like, okay, maybe I was wrong. This is not a new mea culpa. I think we saw that train wreck together in real time. But I never thought of it from the Fernando Mendoza angle. I actually like hadn't really thought about that. You're right. Like, what is this up? He says like he's such a gentleman, Fernando Mendoza. He's so polite and everything, and now he's going to this total train wreck. It's going to be a weird dichotomy.
I mean, the story from Michael Silver, you guys know, with Alex Guerrero, it sounds like he is essentially the number 2. I mean, that's unbelievable to me. Like, he's telling them about personnel directions.
Number 3, EJ, number 3. You know who number 1 is in Vegas? Maggie, your uncle?
Jim Gray.
Uncle Jim Gray.
Because Jim Gray 1,
the Don,
Mark Davis
according to
2,
Cap.
Tom Brady 3, yeah.
Yeah, who
we all
who apparently
know
has
Jim
bodies
Gray
buried because of Cap, who thinks that he's like some mob boss. I still don't get that. I still don't know if it's a joke or a bit. I have no idea.
Listen, Cap knows things, but Amy Trask told us. Amy Trask, it doesn't get any higher than Amy Trask. She knows. She said Jim Gray is basically shadow running the Raiders. That was her, how she put it. Shadow running the Raiders. I wish he was my uncle. I'd be so much further along. You could have
gone to that. You could have gone to that NBC throwback game with the Sixers and Spurs. You would have been right there.
Oh, did that actually? They played that game? I didn't see any of that. How'd that turn out for the Sixers?
Not too good. Don't watch that one on DVD.
They lost by 63 points. Yeah.
But meanwhile, Alex Guerrero, Brady's body man, who's like a sham of a shaman. Selling like silly water that will cure you of concussions and like stupid sunscreen that like makes your brain disorders go away. He's like running the Raiders. It's not cool.
Is that one of his
Mendoza, man,
projects?
he should pull you got to pull a Peyton Manning or something, or you got to pull an Eli. I mean.
Oh wait, to go to the Jets? Is that your plan, Maggie? Who's number 3? Is it? Oh wait, number 3 is
Cardinals,
Tennessee?
right? It's Cardinals, right?
Or are they 4? Is it Tennessee or Arizona?
I think it's the Cardinals.
One of them might take. I feel like Arizona's getting mocked love once in a while.
Because I honestly, listen. These are maybe the 3 worst organizations in the NFL. But I think the Cardinals are 3 in that list. Like, I don't think that they're worse than the Jets and the Raiders.
Yeah, Cardinals then the Titans.
Yeah, I think Browns probably in that mix too. But I mean, I don't know. Mike LaFleur, Desert, maybe. I don't know. I think I do think this Raider thing is. I'm very concerned for Fernando Mendoza, and I'm someone who was down on him, but then he grew on me during the college football playoff, and now I'm in on him. But now I hate this fit, so I now still think that it's not going to work out because Alex Guerrero's running around, Brady's running the show from Florida while he's calling games, and I gotta give Maggie this credit, because while Maggie was very wrong about Brady being good at being a general manager, she was very right about Brady being the worst. Because he is giving me mogul energy, like fake mogul energy. Like, he's doing this thing where he's everywhere and he's nowhere, and he's pulling puppet strings because he doesn't want to get his real hands dirty, but he wants to also show everybody that he's running everything. So, like, he's been doing this long bit that we now know is a bit with WWE, where he said this thing at WWE sucks, and we thought it was real. And now he's tweeting with Logan Paul, and now there's shirts that are being trademarked that we learned. So you realize this whole thing that we thought was authentic was actually just this long game. He's got the Raider deal, where he's pulling the strings. He's got this goon running around threatening to fire people. He's got the Fox job. He's got whatever next white party he's doing with our good friend Michael Rubin. He's got all these things going on, and I'm like, you strike me as a guy that is a mogul wannabe, and mogul wannabes give me the ick. I'm like, just like, you may be a good person, you may be fine or whatever, but it's not for me. And I was actually excited for what Brady's post-career was going to be. I didn't think mogul wannabe was going to be Brady's post-career. I think of him as competitor, as tough guy, as ultimate winner. I don't think of I need to own everything or I need to be in the face of everything. And that's what he's doing. It's too much. I'm just out on Brady.
He lost me with the Pizza Hut commercial, like, completely. I'm like, dude, you like, no way. Like, I thought that was bad. You saw now they've had to scrap the plans for the flag football thing they were doing in Saudi Arabia, which that was bound to probably, have some issues, but even more now. Yeah, you know what? This is not that shocking though, EJ, because look at the crowd he kind of fell in with, right? Bezos, like at the Bezos wedding, and I think he's got a lot, like Michael Rubin. I think he's got a lot of those people around him are kind of like these mogul people. Can we talk for a second? Not to hijack your rundown here,
go
EJ.
ahead. There's no rundown. This is last show. I've been grinding like hell. I'm just like, turn on the mic and let's go, and then whatever. So whatever you want to talk about, let's do it.
This is what I want to talk about. And by the way, congrats again. I said this before Pearl got up, or maybe while you were getting your mic done. I mean, 40 days and 40 nights, and to do all this podcasting it's a big lift, and you did a great job. So you should be proud of yourself about that.
Thank you.
Did you guys see the Kevin Stefanski? We talked so much about the Browns last year. I think Shedeur Sanders was our lead topic 364 days out of 365. Did you see the NFLPA report cards came out?
Oh, yeah.
And he was at the bottom?
Yeah, with like a C-. He didn't fail.
Hey, C's and D's.
But
C's and D's ain't failing. Yeah, get degrees.
But here's the thing, though. Like, what's going on with Stefanski, right? Like, is he the best? Is he the worst? Is he somewhere in between? Did he really, how much of the Shedeur kind of now looks like maybe bungling? How much is that on his on his shoulders versus the rest of, the Browns brass? Like, I was really surprised because I thought, oh no, there's more to Stefanski. Like, the guys who play for him see the genius and like see how good he is. And like, I don't actually know if that's true. It seems like the media fell in love with him for a little bit because he had any success with the woeful Browns, which is like a place very few have ever gone and realized. And I thought the players he'd be like in A+ territory.
Pro, any theories?
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me a little bit of a scene in The Simpsons where the townspeople cry out about the politics, and the guy in the bumblebee suit gives a long speech about how the mayor is doing it wrong. Look at the idiots in Cleveland who are voting on this. Like, what? They've collected the most dysfunctional group of human beings on that roster. You're trusting their grades on Kevin Stefanski? Who? I like Myles Garrett, but he's busy playing with dinosaurs. You think he's going to give a grade? Like, who is giving these grades? Shedeur, who he didn't play, he probably hates his guts. So what do you think? He's going to give him a good grade? And you know why he didn't play? Because the front office told him not to play Shedeur. And I don't know. I just think that team, like, how do you know it's not the team that just hates everybody? I'm trying to think who the players are there. I know Quinshon Judkins had some issues.
Quinshon Judkins. You got Denzel Ward. Yeah, Swearinger just got there.
Had Sean Watson.
Njoku.
Yeah, Watson, Njoku. Jerry Judy.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything going on with Njoku or Judy, but I know there are. Like, they brought in some guys with legal issues. So I don't know. Maybe it's them. Maybe it's the team.
My theory, and this is what I feel like I've heard from other NFL like people who have played before, if you get the quarterback thing wrong, like that really pisses off the rest of the team. And I think the players know, they will tell you they know immediately when they think a guy can't play. And I think them pushing Gabriel onto them when I think those guys didn't believe in him, I think is probably why they're like, this guy is a bozo. Like, he put in a 5'10" guy. I mean, I'm not saying that they're right. I'm saying the guys, whoever were giving this grade, I think that he lost the locker room because they probably were in practice, or just because Shedeur is very likable and he has that quote-unquote it factor, whatever that means. They're probably like, what are we doing with this 5'11" guy who has no arm strength, who we know is not a starting quarterback? Like, we're wasting our time. Like, we should be giving Shedeur the opportunity to actually learn the ropes. I wonder if he lost the team because of some of those things with having Shedeur fourth string, and then he starts the game in Carolina, and then he goes back to fourth string, and then Gabriel gets the first shot at it. Like, I think that's my theory, is that him losing the locker room potentially over the quarterback situation. Because this is a team that's played hard for him. Like, they had Joe Flacco a couple years ago off the scrap heap, and they were winning games 17-14 when he was throwing 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and they were just scrambling to find a way to win games. So Joe
Flacco threw like 300 yards a game, dude.
No, they weren't scoring. No, I'm saying they weren't scoring points though. They were scoring like 20 points. He was throwing for all these yards, but he had all these turnovers. Like, they weren't an explosive offense. But my thing point is that they survived. They figured out how to win. So if they won during those scenarios, you'd have to have respect for your coach if you're winning with a backup Joe Flacco from 2 years ago. What could have changed? I think it's like Gabriel can't play.
Or they had Joe this year, and then they traded him away to Cincinnati.
That probably didn't help either.
That's not Stefanski. I was really surprised. I was surprised.
Yeah. You know what's not going to help? Being the Cleveland Browns. Like, what are you talking about here? And by the way,
two-time coach of the year. He's got half as many as Belichick.
Well, I know, but the roster had been decaying. You know, they're paying like $80 million to Deshaun. They took Judy because Denver was like, get this dude out of here. He doesn't run his routes the right way. They had so many, and listen, they took Quinton Junkins over Travion Henderson. What did Junkins do? It's like, Junkins got him, he's not a good dude, and I have no idea. I am not going to judge him in this. And by the way, the way you said all that, EJ, I'm like, well, shoot, if you say it like that, no wonder teams didn't want to take Shedeur Sanders. Because because I don't know if it's the media pays extra attention to him, but somebody that's like that scenario just painted would never happen with another 5th round pick. In fact, people are like, Will Howard's going to play for the Steelers, but that's insane. No one knows if he's going to be good. But Shedeur Sanders, you're giving them a hard time for not playing Shedeur. God, the other 31 teams are like, thank God we didn't have to deal with that, because nobody wants that kind of pressure. I mean, it was all a mess.
We've gone this long conversation so far, and we've not mentioned our good friend Jera and the Cowboys. You got
Who?
George Pickens, Jera. I guess that was my first.
No,
attempt,
I know, but
attempt.
I feel like the Cowboys aren't a thing anymore.
They kind of aren't. I mean, but you do have the Pickens situation with the franchise tag. I still am wondering if this is a guy that you give a lot of money to, but I also don't know if this is a guy I want having around with a franchise tag. He may fly off the handle. So I don't know, what do you do for you guys if you're the Cowboys here? Do you just pay Pickens and just call it a day, or do you try to get him to play on the franchise tag?
I would pay Pickens and keep him around personally. I don't know. I'm an idiot though. I would overpay. I lean towards overpaying because he's going to be miserable with the franchise tag, and I think that'll leak into the locker room. But
I actually think that I would probably see if I could trade him. Maybe I tag him and trade him, and he's coming off a good year. He kept his nose clean. He was not the total headache that he was in Pittsburgh. Either credit Schottenheimer or whatever. What do you trade, a 3rd round pick for him? I think you could probably get better than that now. I would think, even though you'd have to do picks and potentially a contract. But that would, if I were, running a team, my first thing would be, how do I trade him? And try to get out of this thing with, and recoup a little bit. But this is the problem. Everyone knows that Jerry is a sucker, except for Michael Parsons, which got really out of hand or what have you. He pays everybody eventually. So he has shown that it behooves you to be a gigantic pain in the ass And then ultimately he will relent. Again, it was just Parsons, and that stunned all of us. We thought he was definitely going to just get paid, and it would be on the eve of the season, and we'd be like, all right, business as usual. He got traded to the Packers. That was shocking. I think you're just playing him on the franchise tag, because if you start negotiating with him he's going to expect that he's getting paid at the top of the market or near there. And why wouldn't he? And that's going to be a headache. I don't know.
Well, that's the question, though, Maggie. Is he a top 10 receiver? I would say definitely. I mean, without
he played like it. He played like it.
But you're going to pay 2 receivers that kind of money? I mean, your Eagles did that and got a Super Bowl, but that wasn't the whole story with the Eagles. You guys had a lot more going for you than what the Cowboys do.
Yeah. I don't know. The cap's going up. They have to get young at other positions and get lucky in the draft, or good in the draft. I don't know. The idea when Pickens isn't there and Lamb is the only target, they're so predictable. And I know they resigned Javonte Williams, but if you take Pickens out of that mix, is anyone excited about that team next year?
But I mean, you did have the news today about the interest in Max Crosby.
Yeah,
you have a crazy deal there where maybe you say, let's hand Pickens to the Raiders, give Fernando Mendoza a receiver. We'll take back Max Crosby. Maybe there's a mid-round pick in there to kind of make it work for whoever. It feels like that works for both teams.
EJ, congrats. The Jets are not the only suckers in the NFL. You can find the Raiders. No, it's not a bad idea. It's really not. And obviously the Cowboys would benefit massively from having Max Crosby.
I don't know. How much is Crosby?
30.
30?
Oh, how old is he? Or how much money?
No, how much does he cost? Yeah.
Does he make like 30, 32, 33, something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I love Max Crosby, but I would just check when the decline's coming.
But the defense was so bad, though, Pearl.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying he's going to get older and expensive.
Yeah.
But by the way, that trade is just too big to happen. That would explode the internet. That can't happen. That's what.
You mean a trade with Tom Brady and Jerry Jones and the Cowboys and Raiders would be too much for us?
Logan Paul would be involved somehow. It feels like, right?
John Madden's video game rights would be a part of it somehow. Yeah.
What does the Saudi royal family think? Can they weigh in on the deal? They got to bless the deal.
Yeah, the next big Floyd Mayweather fight now goes from Allegiant to Jerry World. That would be also part of the agreement to make sure that that works out for whatever Saudi fight Floyd has coming up next. You guys see this, by the way? Are you not? I feel like we're all acting like this is normal. Like this is crazy. He has 3 fights. They're all diabolical. Like Mike Tyson, then some kickboxer, and then Manny Pacquiao. Like, someone check on Floyd and make sure like he's not like gonna be like outside in the street in Times Square fighting people, because clearly he needs money or something. This is insane.
Well, this day was always coming, where I would not be shocked if Floyd is either broke or looking like he's going broke. Would there be any less shocking news? Like, Sports Illustrated used to do a thing, I think it was SI, we did it, right, Pearl, that it was like the richest athletes. A lot of people did it, and it was like each year, and Floyd would be number 1, and it would be all purse money and 0 endorsements. Like, there was no sustainability to him whatsoever. I know he's got like a couple strip clubs in Las Vegas. I don't know what the margins are in that kind of business, but I guarantee Floyd's screwing it up. And he'll be boxing a kangaroo, and I know that Luke Cornett has a problem with that. But he's going to go broke. It's going to be so inevitable, and it's going to be sad, but you reap what you sow. So I don't have no love lost for Floyd.
Wait, sorry. Can I ask a question? I know about Pacquiao, and I think I read the Tyson headline. I had no idea what that other fight you mentioned is.
Yeah, he's fighting a kickboxer, and this is all in the span of like 5 months.
Happening too?
I don't know. It said it was supposed to be in April. I've not seen an official, I guess, April, next month, exactly.
Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson in April, then a kickboxer in July, and then Pacquiao, I think, in November. 3 fights, 2 of them exhibition, but then the Pacquiao fight is real. Because Pacquiao was like, I'm not doing this unless it's a natural, real fight. And I'm like, if you told me he was doing one of these things, I would say, this is outrageous. He's doing them all in a span of 5 months. Again, someone check on this man. I don't think he is very well in terms of his entire existence. This is what you're doing in this short amount of time.
That's
you
a hot
really have
take
to ask
there,
about
EJ.
the mental capacity of Floyd Mayweather. But you know what's gonna happen is like they're gonna do this thing where, and this happens every so often if you are really into boxing and stuff, and if you go to a lot of fights and you watch the undercard, fights, every once in a while some guy will get out there. He's all of a sudden he's like bobbing and weaving, ready to go, and they take off the hood and the robe, and it's like, oh no, he's 50, and that happens every so often. These guys you're gonna take the hood off the robe, and people are gonna gasp because of how old they're gonna look compared to what you remember.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that at all. Maggie, you've been doing a lot of baseball tonight in New York, which is pretty awesome. And Pearl's got his Phillies hat. I mean, are we finally going to get the Phillies out of here in the NL East? We're going to make this happen?
Guys, announcement. I'm all in on baseball because of the World Baseball Classic. All in.
Oh, there you go. I've been talking about it's on tonight.
It's
Brazil.
Really fun. Super exciting. It's been great.
Yeah, I'm all in too.
I was texting Manny throughout a Red Sox Yankees preseason game. I'm in on the conversation.
I was actually going to check on Manny because Mexico was playing earlier today, but I don't know how that game ended, and I forgot to look up the score. Did they win? They were playing Great Britain.
He didn't text anybody, so I assume they lost. I don't know. I feel like they won. I would have got a lot of texts from him. He texted me a picture of Alejandro Kirk running the base pass, and he's like, "Can you believe we have him and Rowdy Tellez?" And I was like, "I didn't know you also had Rowdy Tellez. That's a lot of beef. I don't know if we needed both of those guys."
Did you know Andrew is the manager of the Netherlands?
That's awesome. No, I did not know that.
Yeah, because Curaçao is part of the Netherlands, and it's an amazing team out of nowhere. So Dutch baseball. Yeah,
they've been dominating the Little League World Series for like a decade. They better be good at the World Baseball Classic by now. When I was a kid, they used to always win.
But why is it just Curaçao? Why is it the Netherlands?
Colonialism, imperialism. That's a whole nother podcast.
Well, how about this? Netherlands coming off the Winter Olympics, which is really their jam, and Mexico won 8-2. Where was the text message?
So where's Manny? I don't know where Manny was. That's surprising.
Instead of game.
Yeah, Great Britain is also basically the Bahamas. It's like a bunch of Americans and like Bahamians. There's only, I think, 2 guys who were born in the UK on Great Britain. That's the only thing about the Baseball Classic. Like, I'm happy all these teams are being represented, but I think this could be a nice, neat 8-team tournament. The 16 teams, like, we're really stretching for some of these teams to get in there. We know that, I don't want to make this like both hemispheres, or 4, I guess, northern, southern, eastern, western. I think just Western Hemisphere is all we need. We don't need any of those countries in the Eastern Hemisphere. Just keep it in the Western Hemisphere. You can do Southern, Northern, and just call it a day. We'd be fine.
What about the Asian teams, though? Aren't they?
Oh, no, sorry, in the Asian teams. Keep Korea and keep Japan, and then just do the rest of the Western Hemisphere. I don't think we need some of these other teams in here. Because they're not actually teams from Italy or teams from the Great Britain. They're teams from New Jersey, and they're teams from Florida. Like, they're not actually from these places.
No, I love this part of it. I love this part when I'm like, who's coaching the Italy team? It's like, Jorge Posada? How does that make any sense? He's not Italian. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But I kind of like that. You know, there was a time a couple cycles ago when the U.S. had a World Cup on the men's side, had a World Cup team, and like half the guys were German, like spoke German, and like, you know, but hey, it gave us a pretty good shot. I kind of like when you have like 1/16, you know, Japan, like Korean, you know, ancestry, and then you get to play for that team.
Your great grand uncle is, you know, from, you know, the UK, so therefore you're on Great Britain.
Yes, right. You're good. I like that.
Anything else going on? Again, I don't have no rundown, so I'm just ripping here. Anything you guys want to talk about, or you guys got?
I have to jump in a minute, EJ.
Yeah.
I have to jump in a minute to help the kiddos. No. I definitely. We're working on getting the gang back together. Just want to throw that out there, Maggie. We're working on. Can't say anything now, but if anyone's listening, soon. We promise. I know it's been a long time, and I know we keep saying soon, but this is for real, right, Bags?
Absolutely. And actually, not to do the production meeting on air like we used to do oftentimes, but EJ, I was going to text you before we came on here to give you a little update, but then I realized you're on the air already.
Oh, yeah.
You've been doing such an amazing job of just doing such a comprehensive job. So I do have news for you, but I have to tell you behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But just like, really, this has been amazing. It's a unique thing that you did. It was creative. You know, never seen anyone do something like this before. You basically did like the Iron Man of broadcasting, and I hope that you got a lot out of it because it was really cool to watch.
Oh man, thank you so much. Yeah, this was a trip, and honestly, like I thank you guys, and you guys, you know, I say a bunch. I mention you guys so often on this show, in part because a lot of our audience is from Maggie and Perloff show, but also because you guys have inspired me so much, and I've learned so much from you guys. But I saw you guys work ethic, I saw you guys grind, and so that comes with that. But this has been a unique thing, and a lot of the work we did together inspired ideas for this show that made it happen. And you guys have now been frequent guests. This is both of you guys' third time here. No, 2 out of 3, pretty good. 1 not so good, but two out of 3. We'll take 2 out of 3. It's good in baseball, maybe not good at the free throw line. But no, this has been awesome that you guys have supported me throughout this. And I'm excited about what you guys got coming together. So this has been a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Yeah, no, again, congratulations. It was awesome. And by the way, I've really enjoyed watching Maggie, EJ, the technical stuff. Like there are a lot of balls. I think you've learned more on that side. And I've even watched you do it behind the scenes. Like that's really cool too. Yeah. And I think we're all like, you know, after the radio show ended, I think we're all like looking at different, like, gosh, there's a lot going on. It's constantly changing about how you deliver content. So I think I'm really curious to hear your takeaways once it's all done about what you've learned in that respect too. You're already awesome at it, but it keeps on evolving too.
Yeah, I've learned a ton. There's things about this when I thought I was up to speed on things, and I realized, oh no, I'm way wrong on this. This is the wrong app, wrong cable, wrong everything. Like there are times where I thought this was gonna be easy, and I was like, oh my god, this is nothing close to easy. And I thought I was pretty tech savvy. So I think I don't know if I would suggest anybody try to do this, but if you did, you would learn a lot and you would grow a lot. You definitely get through a lot of great experience with this. So this has been a lot of fun, man.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Also, congrats on your elementary school Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, I was gonna make sure. I mean, I had the whole picture and stuff ready, but I didn't post it. But now I can. Yes, I'm now in the Elementary School Hall of Fame of PS 205 in Queens, New York, which is Bayside, Queens, where I grew up. And it was really exciting because they said it was career day, so I was excited for just career day. And I thought maybe something else is happening. It's kind of weird that I'm coming in like in the middle of it, not like I told them I couldn't come in the morning. They were like, "Oh, that's practically perfect." I was like, "Okay, it doesn't sound perfect, but sure." And I come into the gym and I'm giving a speech to the students, but in the background there is the banner already hanging up, class of 2002, Hall of Fame. So that was not something I was expecting, but it was a really neat thing to do. And I'm now in the same class as Howie Rose. Like that to me is a trip. That Howie Rose went to my elementary school, which I kind of vaguely remember when I was a kid. And now there's another, and they put radio person up there. So when kids are gonna go all throughout these years, they're gonna say, "Oh, 2 radio people, EJ and Howie Rose, they're the same, right?" Like what?
Well, one day when you're calling one of the greatest moments in the history of the New York Rangers, you can say, or the New York Mets, you can say, yes, me and Howie, same.
Howie told a story on Twitter today, because I tagged him, and he was actually gracious enough to actually respond and congratulate. He told a story because I shot some hoops in the gym once everybody left, because my former gym teacher was like, "Oh, you can hang out here until everyone leave," and I was like, "An empty gym and no kids? Why don't I take a couple of jump shots?" And I posted myself shooting a couple of shots, and Howie Rose said that he was playing in that same gym. And he remembers playing, hockey, I believe? The field hockey, or no, I guess floor hockey, the day before the Mets clinched the World Series, or a day before Game 4, I believe. And he had actually people from X also who played with him, like who were talking about the story. I was like, this is incredible. And I'm playing in the same gym.
Oh, sorry, guys, That's Marco Rubio calling me. He wants to expand the college football playoff tonight. No, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. It's Hegseth actually is worried about the transfer portal. So I gotta run and fix this country. We might have to go online to talk about this Trump meeting, by the way. This is just too much going on.
You should just start tweeting, be like, just got out of the White House meeting. I swear, people will think you were there. You could listen, just got out of the dinner session, and you know, I'll tell you what, Saban's got some good ideas.
Yeah. You should have heard what Urban Meyer said about Kristi Noem. All right. I gotta jump.
Ask her number.
Love you guys.
Yeah.
See you, bro.
Okay.
Bye, EJ.
See you, bro.
Congrats.
Maggie, thank you so
Bye,
much.
congrats,
Thank you so
dude.
much, both of you guys. Oh my gosh, it was so great. Thank you.
Later.
We're psyched for you. We'll talk to you soon, EJ. I'll talk to you offline about the other thing. And to everyone watching, thank you, and just so proud of you, EJ, for doing this. It's a big lift. It's a big deal, and you did it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maggie. Appreciate you so much. You know that.
Bye, guys.
See ya. Oh man, we did it. We got them both together, Maggie and Perloff. I think that was a treat for you guys. I think that was a treat. I felt there were so many, and I had to close. There were multiple different things I had to change to make sure this worked because of what happened last time, and there was a lot of things, the technical issues that you guys won't care about. Some things that were not my fault, some things that were my fault. But one of the things I know for sure was I had to turn off my soundboard and just get rid of it in order for this to go through. So I did that right as Pearl came on, and then it went smoothly. So that was great. But I felt annoyed because they both said multiple things that I was like, oh, the soundboard is right here for me to play. Perloff talking about how the Browns guys suck.
Cleveland, because they're idiots.
I'm like, I need to play that drop. I had the drop ready to go. And of course, Maggie comes on, and
finally.
These were obviously things that typically I would have been all ready to go with, but no. Again, like I said, like I don't know if I may even have the thought process or the vision to do this without the creativity that gets sparked by working with those two. They challenged me in a lot of different ways that I greatly appreciate, in ways that have turned me into, I think, a much better multimedia person. And is a better person, period, let alone, because they're both great people, which is why I love them so much. But, like, I don't even know if I have the vision to think of this creatively, of how to do this, if I don't spend those 2+ years working with them at Infinity Sports Network. And I don't have you guys who have been in the chat, who have been supporting me throughout this whole time. So the fact that on the final night of 40 days and 40 nights, we're, 2 hours and 17 minutes in, we got Maggie Gray and Andrew Perloff with us here. That was really special. Round of applause for Maggie Gray and Andrew Perloff. Maggie kind of spoiled it. I mean, if you guys were on my social media, it wasn't like it wasn't spoiled. It would have already been spoiled. But I didn't mention it because I was like, well, some people may not on social media, so they may not have seen what happened. But Maggie mentioned it, and I mentioned it earlier. Yes, I indeed got elected, inducted. I don't know if there was an actual election, if there was votes involved, but I was announced as the latest member of the PS 205 Sports Hall of Fame. Not used to giving myself a round of applause, but I mean, I think this one is fitting. No, I mean, first of all, I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Mr. Stephen Bloom, who was my gym teacher, and he was actually my brother's second grade teacher. Mr. Bloom, he's taught all different kinds of things. He taught science, he's computer science, he taught gym, he's been an actual just generic like overall teacher, because like, it's not like middle school or like element or like high school when you got like bio and stuff. Like most of his classes you're just in a class, and there's your teacher, and then you do various little things where someone teaches everybody, like gym and science, things like that. So he did it all. And shout out to him. He told me he's about to retire next year, so another round of applause for Mr. Stephen Bloom. But he said that there was something that he wanted to do, but you hear some people that don't put you in the Hall of Fame, but like you're like, all right, like you try to be humble. You're not going to say, hey, when did that happen? You kind of just say, oh, that'd be a crazy honor, and you don't expect it to ever happen. You hear though that it's possible, and you hope that it happens, and it doesn't happen without Mr. Stephen Bloom, who did this. Now I know in what is entering next year, his last year. So that is very special that he thought about me that much, that he wanted to make sure that I was remembered for my time at PS 205. So I did have the pictures. I don't know if I did. Well, I didn't have the pictures, but I did have this. I did mention earlier I was shooting some baskets. If you wanted to know what my gym looked like in elementary school, that's where I played on the elementary school basketball team at PS 205. I was shooting baskets, and this is a first take video, by the way. So you see me make the free throw and immediately go back to the three-point line. Look at that. Nylon. That touched no rim. The free throw touched a lot of rim. That touched absolutely no rim. So that shows you just kind of what I'm about in terms of I still got the ratchet. I still don't let you know, maybe gain a little weight and maybe you know, obviously gimpy on the knee, but don't let any of that fool you. I can still shoot the rock. That a jump shot never leaves you. So this was really neat that I got to hang out in the gym. I spoke to all the students about my career and what I've been doing, and it was just really inspirational, you know, because I really am really proud of what Maggie and Perloff are doing in this. I don't know why I call this time that we've had these last 3 months, but the time that it is, whatever we want to call it, you know. And they, again, Maggie, you know, doing appearances on SNY, Perloff doing all the stuff he's done for Athlon. I mentioned what Bogish and Manny have done, and so many of my other friends at Infinity Sports Network. And, you know, it's you look for, at this point in time, you want to find the small wins where you can get them, because, you know, life is short, and you want to be able to really appreciate what you have, because it can be taken at any moment, just like Infinity Sports Network was no more in the blink of an eye. So moments like today where, you know, people show you gratitude and show you appreciation, it's really special. And again, I thank Mr. Bloom. I thank PS 205 Alexander Graham Bell School. I told the principal today, and what I truly feel. I think that my elementary school and my neighborhood I grew up in Bayside, Queens, I think it's a special place. And I cannot thank my parents enough for the values they instilled in me, for the places they took me first, you know, growing up in St. Albans, Queens, and the values and friends I met there, and then for the majority of my childhood growing up in Bayside, Queens, and the beginning at PS 205, to come now, and I've reminded very quickly in a funny short story, you know, I'm talking to the students, and you know, I said that, you know, I graduated here because they asked, you know, first thing they asked was, when did you go here? I said, I graduated in 2002, and there's a class, a full gym, like basically half a full gym, of probably, let's call it 200 students. Yeah, maybe 100. Let's say 100 students. And I say, yeah, I graduated in 2002. You guys know how long ago that was? And you wanted to tell the aggressiveness with how quickly, shout out to this young kid who had the math right on top, the aggressiveness where he wanted to say 24 years. And I'm like, okay, way to make me feel really old. I know I asked the question, so I kind of asked for it, but like he was fast and aggressive to let me know I'm washed. It was 24 years ago since you've been here, bro. So to have, you know, to know that there's so much that I learned from being in that environment that made me the man and made me the personality, the sports personality, the media person that I am today. It started all at PS 205. So special thanks to the principal, special thanks to Mr. Stephen Bloom, special thanks to the entire school. And that was, again, for a time that's been very tenuous. For people, you know, we obviously work full-time jobs. We have real lives, and your lives get uprooted in a major way. You're looking for all the wins you could find. Today was definitely a big one. Not just because of the fact that I was able to get inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame in my elementary school, but also because we were able to complete the journey of 40 days and 40 nights. Wow. I don't know what to do now. What am I going to do? What's going to come next? Before I say any more, I want to give a lot of major shout outs. So first, I want to shout out my fiance, Andrea. No, she's not right here. She's not going to walk out. She's over there, like, you know, closed door and stuff. But she's out there. Thank her for her support with this and everything, because, you know, it takes you got to have like trust in somebody and belief in somebody and a real partnership to be like, hey, I know I lost my job, but I need to spend 40 days spending 5-6 hours a day doing a show and then preparing for a show, because it's not just turning on the camera and then we go live for 2 hours. It's like the preparation before, the stuff I got to read, the games I got to watch, all that stuff to get ready. To have the rope and the appreciation and the support to do that, I got to thank her. I'll thank Lita because she's just a lovely dog, even though her antics didn't necessarily make this job easier or make this show easier. But I got to thank all the guests that we had that came throughout the entire time. So Ray Jarvis was our first guest, and he was money. My one regret was not getting Ray back in here to talk Mets, because I know I had him on hip hop, and I didn't want to just pin him on hip hop, but of course he does a rap roundtable, but he's obviously at the Fan as a board op and a producer. But because he's so brilliant in his rap coverage, I wanted to have him talk about the J. Cole album for those weeks and all the stuff that was coming about it. So Ray Jarvis, obviously he was the first guest. We had Andrew Bogish, Manny Rodriguez, Zach Gelb, David Shepard. I'm doing it off the top of the dome. I had Dexter Henry, my good friend Dexter Henry. Shout out to Dexter Henry. If you guys are people remember, I'm trying to remember them all. Obviously Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Let's see who else we had. Oh, we had my guy Mike Fliegelman came in and talked about Jets. Man, he came in and rocked it. He was awesome. I'm going to Rob's post. I know he had it up there. Now I'm scrolling all the way up. Oh man, but so many people have come in, and Antoine Staley, who came in, and that was the first time we've been exchanged like just pleasantries and just commentary on X. He follows me, I follow him. He does a phenomenal job with the Daily News. Never had him on ever on any of my radio shows that I've hosted, any radio shows I've produced, or this obviously, or anything on New Generation Media. But Jets stuff was hot this week. One thought he made sense to come on, and he came on and he rocked it. So big shout out to Antoine Staley. This group of people, when I did this, and I'll get to my brothers in a second. Lucas Goldman, my ride or die with wrestling, man. We do this off-script wrestling podcast. I'm gonna talk about it a ton. I know it's not like there's a lot of recent episodes. When I tell you, like, one of the more prouder like projects I've done is these episodes with him, because it's so different than anything I've ever done. Because it's much. I'm giving you takes. I'm always gonna give you takes, but it's so much more of like me learning about how the business works. I'm so used to having a podcast. It's funny with the Russell Westbrook thing earlier today was like, don't talk about things you don't know. Ironically, a lot of things we do is just like us talking ish. That's what podcasting is for a lot of it. But that's like a show where like I have an expert and we're both watching something and he's watching with a totally different eye. And a lot of it is me asking him about things that I don't even see or things that I'm not anticipating. So I love that show. And I guarantee, I promise, like, if you guys check it out, you will enjoy it. And we're going to get back to those. Tommy Beer, who had the record for most guests on this show. Not most viewers in terms of my view. My view is always different than what the final numbers come out, so I'm never sure what it is. My view tends to be a little lower than what the final viewer is. But I had 500 plus people because of Tommy Beer during the NBA trade deadline. So massive shout out to Tommy Beer. That's my former co-host for Orange and Blue Bloods, NBA writer. He has his Substack. Make sure you follow him. He does great work. And shout out to my homie Keith McPherson as well, who came in, talked Yankees. He did his thing. That was a great interview. He dropped the mic when it came to getting after. And maybe you want to know my rant. You want to know who had the best guest rant? Keith McPherson had the best guest rant, talking about his. I can't even call him a frenemy. I think he's just an enemy. John Heyman. That was crazy. So shout out to him. Shout out to Brandon Nix, another guy. I was so happy to have Brandon on, man. Me and Brandon were chatting about, doing content together, and I told him, listen, I'm not saying that I'm not open to it or that we won't do something. I have something coming that I need to see through. And this is when I was still, trying to figure out exactly how 40 Days, 40 Nights was going to work. And, Brandon is super talented. He knows his baseball. He knows his sports. He's an excellent producer. He's worked at various different spots. And I think he's someone that's young and hungry, just like me, and also from the same grad school. We both went to the Craig Newmark School of Journalism. And he wants to be great like I want to be great. And I was like, you're going to be on this show I'm on. Don't worry. Like, I don't know. We'll see what the future holds if there's future content for us together. We're going to do business together, just like they say in wrestling, because he's talented. I think I'm okay. So I know he's going to be fine. He's gonna find a spot in this industry, which he's had for multiple times. But it's tough times right here. All of us are figuring it out. But I was like, I want to have you on because I know you'll be great. And he came in. One of the best social media videos we have in terms of our viewership and engagement has been his commentary on the Mets' upcoming season and the competition in the National League. Big shout out to Brandon Nix. I think that's all my guests. If I forgot anybody, the sincerest. Oh, Rob, thank you. You came through in the clutch. Shout out to Bart Winkler. Shout out to Carlos Ortiz. Those two guys. They're doing a phenomenal podcast. Into the Winklerverse. Carlos is the man. I don't get safely to the hospital when I tore my patella tendon without Carlos. So Carlos always has a special place in my heart. Him and his wife Daisy, shout out to Daisy, and Bart Winkler. It's funny, Bart forgot how often we worked together. He's like, we never worked together. I'm like, we worked together kind of a lot. You filled in a lot for people. I worked in the weekends almost exclusively for the first 2 years I was at Infinity Sports Network, and Bart wasn't full-time at that time, and he was working mostly weekends. And I always enjoyed working with Bart because, he passed the mic. He was very genuine with his time. He actually seemed interested in what I had to say. And he's just a really talented radio host. I love hearing from him because, like, it's just, he's one of one. I'm like, and what he does works. He's just really talented, and Carlos is really talented. Carlos is a great producer, but he's also a great host too. And I'm sure he's going to get great opportunities coming up because he's really talented as a host as well. So shout out to Carlos Ortiz. Thank you for that, Rob. You saved me. I think I got everybody besides everyone else. So, man, much love to you guys. Much love to the people that have rocked with me. Again, I mentioned Rob, Big Friendly, Bob Custer, Andy Lean, Spencer Seeks, Matthew Graves. So many of you for the weeks and weeks and weeks. They had the Instagram viewers. Jesse in the Instagram has been rocking with me almost since the beginning as well. Like, oh, you guys have been amazing. Lecky is dropped in, and he kind of came in. I don't know if it was he or they came in kind of late, it seems, in the chat, but they seem like they've been rocking me for these last few days. So shout out to them. You guys kept me pushing, and it was important for me. Like, when I do my show, I always see the viewership number, and the number it varies. There's some numbers like, oh, okay. Makes it pop up, say, hey, do a good show. Like, there's a lot of people watching today. There's some shows where it's reality. And I loved you guys because you guys really kept me honest. Full disclosure, I was, and Andrea knows, pissed off after Monday's morning show. I was so mad because I felt like I was a little frazzled just because I knew a lot was coming with Maggie and Perloff and then the whole team coming. And then preparation for the show was a little late and I thought that not only was like the interview stuff didn't work, I also just thought like the show's energy initially, maybe partially because I was so focused on what's coming next, I thought my energy was off and I was pissed off because I was like, I owe these guys, you guys that have rocked with me this whole time, I owed you guys a much better show. And I don't know if you guys may not know, I felt like every show since then, I was like, I'm going to kill every show. Like, I'm going to come in with a different kind of focus. I know I'm tired. I know it's been 40 days. I'm pushing 40 days, but I can't slow down now. A lot of it was because you guys were in that chat and you guys were actually engaging with me. You guys wanted to be entertained. And I didn't want to, I felt disappointed in myself that I really let you guys down. Andrea knows, I talked about it probably all week, how pissed off I was at Monday, but I felt like every show after that was some of the best shows we've had this entire 40-day run. So I'm really, really proud of that. Rod Ray saying, shout out my future mother-in-law. Yes, Carolyn. Carolyn's been in the chat, so that's absolutely should shout out my future mother-in-law. Shout out to Carolyn for sure. But no, you guys have kept me honest in that regard, regardless of whether that number was a super high number or a super low number. Because you guys have been that supportive, I was like, I can't come in and BS this. I can't come in and what's this. Was I late sometimes? Often, yes. But a lot of it was because I actually wasn't trying to BS it. It was because I was like, you know what? This sound needs to be in here. you know what, this lower third has to look this way. Like, I'm not gonna just, let's just throw the mic on and hit the lower third and just go. Like, I didn't want to do that to you guys. And anything I do, I want to make sure that it's as high a level as possible, right? Whatever my best level is. It might not be the best level for somebody else, but what my best level is. And a lot of that comes with your support. So the people that have been vocal and consistent in the chat, can't thank you enough. And man, this was so many things. This was fun. This was exhilarating. This was nerve-wracking at times. This was scary. This was at times brutal when it came to like consistently having to do it every day. But this was the best thing I could describe. It was worth it. Everything we did during these 40 days and 40 nights were absolutely worth it. And I can't thank you guys enough. That's going to do it, man. Like I said before, there's so much stuff coming. Follow me on social media, EJ_Stewart. Expect an announcement fairly soon about a new project I'm going to be launching very soon. I'm very excited about it. I just cannot announce it yet, but it's coming. Talked more about it today with the people in charge with it. I feel good. And of course, you hear what Maggie said earlier today and Pearl said earlier today. So keep it locked on my social media, EJ_Stewart. Please subscribe to the channel, New Generation Podcast on YouTube, and subscribe to the podcast channel, New Generation Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts. Love you guys.